Hello and welcome to the Rank and Flank podcast. I'm your host, Finton. These are my co-hosts, Ben.
Hello.
AJ.
Hello.
And Mark.
Hello.
Hey, we got through it.
Yay!
We're getting so good at this.
We've peaked.
Professional podcasters now. In this episode, we have finally a bit of news, not from GW, but from various leaks about the Dwarf Arcane Journal.
Well, to be fair, GW did give us some news, but the leaks are the really exciting part.
Are they leaks? Because they've sort of just sent it out to content creators. The NDA has expired, and they're now putting out on their YouTube channel, so people have screenshotted it. Does that count as a leak?
I guess. I mean, it's been pre-ordered. You paid for it already.
Yep.
And so you're just getting a little low-res teaser of it before you get the full thing.
We've been doing a lot of zooming in this week. I don't know about you.
Ben has been compiling a whole bunch of these leaks from these YouTube videos so that way we can go over all of this stuff in one big episode on all of the dwarf stuff that we know so far. So we've got a lot to cover with that, so I think we should just get right into it.
Sounds good?
Yep.
Perfect.
The Art of War.
So, Art of War. We are going to be going over the various armies of infamy that have been leaked from the Dwarven Mountain Hold's Arcane Journal. Starting off with the Royal Clan's Army of Infamy. We have a few new units here, as well as some new special rules, and also just general Army of Infamy things like you have to take you have to take a variety of things different than the base Grand Army composition.
Yeah. So I've got the Grand Army up as well as the Royal Clan Army, just so we can quickly compare the differences. So you must take a king or a thane. That's the first thing. And you can still have 0 to 1 Anvil of Doom or Rune Lord per 1,000 points. But notably, no limit on how many kings or thanes you can have except for a minimum of 1. So you could have multiple, kings in a
I'd like
2,000
3
point.
toughness 10 kings, please.
Yeah.
It's probably a terrible idea. They're so
But you
immobile.
can. You can.
Yep.
Put the 3 kings in a unit together, they're all skirmishers.
It's interesting. It's only 25% core. Before we go on to that, the characters, no slayers or engineers. That's the thing that's missing from characters.
That's the big theme of the army, I believe.
Yep, makes sense.
There is no gunpowder in this army at all.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah, this is like in terms of the dwarf lore, sort of the old grumbly guys from the War of the Beard. These are those people. These are the ones who stick to the old ways, and they have the fancy organ guns, and they carve their grudges onto rocks and throw them in big catapults at their enemies.
So inefficient.
Ricky would love this army.
Oh, absolutely.
So our in the old podcast, Ricky Fisher, he had a full dwarf army from whenever the 8th edition book came out, and he's like, no black powder. That's my rule. So he's like stone throwers and quarrelers, and so this is for him. Okay, so that's cool to know. So 25% core only, which is a bit of a deviation from some of the other armies.
I believe
of infamy.
every other army of infamy has had 33% core. I was actually about to open with that.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, like that's a big difference. But the only things you're available in core are Longbeards, Quarrelers, and a new unit, the Royal Clan Warriors, which I guess we'll cover in a minute.
Are Longbeards available in core for the base army?
They are if you have a king.
Yes,
or a thane.
0 to 1 if your general is a king.
Right,
That's
you just have access to as many as you want there.
Yep, exactly.
We can go over the Royal Clan Warriors now, I think.
Okay, let's do that. Damn you, now I have to bring up a different page. Royal Clan Warriors. Okay, so let's quickly look at their stat line. Like all dwarfs, they're move 3, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 3, strength 3, tough 4, 1 wound, 2 initiative, 1 attack, leadership 9 at the very reasonable 10 points a model.
Yeah, so these guys are just, they're basically dwarf warriors but they're 1 point more expensive if you account for their shields.
They come with shields and heavy armor.
Yep, and they have Grumble armor, Grumble weapons, and they also have access to a special great weapon, which is called the Grumble Great Axe, which we'll find out about in a second.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay.
Yep.
So they've got a bunch of options. You can give them drilled, stubborn, or veteran. So these are. I really like the flavor of these. It's like they're not quite long beards, but they're definitely more than just your average dwarf. The Grumble Great Axes are an extra point. They are strength +2, AP 3, and then requires 2 hands and strike last. So none of your armor bane 1 nonsense.
No,
you just straight up AP 3.
Yep.
Very straightforward, like a true dwarf weapon.
Yeah, and for 1 point, that is fantastic. Understanding you're losing the shield, and it is strength 3 base, so they would go to strength 5. But for 11 points to have a strength 5 AP 3 attack, that's not bad in your core.
Yeah, it's really cheap.
Yeah.
I think people always overlook how cheap Dwarf Warriors are for the stat line that you're getting. Obviously accounting for their lack of mobility and stuff. This is just like a slightly souped up version of them.
Yep.
Do base dwarf warriors also from skill 4?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Right. So the stat line is mostly unchanged.
I think the stat line's identical.
Do the regular dwarf warriors have shield wall as well?
Yes, if they have shields. Yep.
And leadership 9?
Leadership
Yep.
9, yeah, is base for all dwarfs.
That is, yeah, this is a reason why I don't like fighting dwarves.
So the unit can take full command, 6 points pop, and they can get a runic standard up to 75 points, which is quite high if I'm remembering rightly. Although I think the runic item limits tend to be a bit higher than normal magic item limits.
Yep. I think 75 points will get you the good ones.
The good ones.
Yeah.
And then, it's 1 point a model for drilled, stubborn, or veteran.
But you only have 0 to 1 per 1,000 points in the army.
Right. Not that you're going to have too many units of these, I wouldn't think. I mean, really, they're still a core unit. You're still going to use them to fill out your core allowance. They're just a better version.
Yeah. The way I look at this is sort of like the people who designed it are saying, look, you've picked this army with all these restrictions. One of the rewards that we're giving you is a slightly better version of Dwarf Warriors. And that's nice. That's a nice to have. It's not going to massively impact your game. I think Warriors were already pretty good. They're incredibly high value. If you give them drilled, you march them up the field, double their movement with the Anvil of Doom, they can get right in the opponent's face turn 1. So it's pretty good.
I think drilled and veteran are both excellent rules to be able to put on these. So if you've got, let's say you're playing a 2,000 point game, you could take 2 units of these and give them both drilled and veteran. And the reason I like veteran, it's the only rule in the game that lets you reroll every leadership test, no matter what it is. And of course, drilled, like you're saying, the ability to roll in marching column and then reform in order to get a wider frontage for a fighting when you charge. I think, that makes them a bit more mobile.
Being able to march 18 inches up the field as dwarves and be still in combat order when you end it is insanely strong.
It's nice.
Yeah, can you get into combat order at the end? I think you can only...
You'd widen 5. So
you only need to widen to 4 for these guys. They're heavy infantry.
Yes, but you can widen by 5. Is what I'm saying.
Yes.
So you could deploy in a 2x10 or 4x5 if you wanted.
Yeah.
And then widen 1 for 5x4.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, so your marching column would let you move 9 inches. And then
same again. It's basically arcane urgency.
Right, but you redress the ranks before you move.
Oh, right, before.
So you would redress into combat formation and then go another 6. But that's still a 15-inch move, which is comparable to most cavalry.
Yep, and you can even increase that a little bit with one of the new units that we'll talk about.
Oh, exciting.
Very excited for that.
So, as far as core units go, I think at 10 points a model, that's pretty good. But you're going up to 12 if you're talking about adding the rules that I'm thinking about, and 13 if you add in those Grumrow Great X's. So a unit of 20 is now costing you 260.
Yeah, as appealing as the Grumrow Great Axes are, I think I like to use these as sort of tanky little guys to bunker my king in.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't give them that as appealing that is. I'd prefer to have the shields. I like having shield wall.
Yep.
You can have your hammer unit be something else. You can have your hammer unit be literally
hammers, yeah.
And you can then zoom them up the board if you want to instead.
Yep.
But great bunker for kings, really good value infantry unit.
Yep.
And just going to be overall a solid thing for your opponents to crash into. So I'm very happy with this. This is probably my favorite thing about this list.
All right. So that was core. Shall I move on?
Go ahead.
All right. So in special, you can have 0 to 3 war machines per 1,000 points, chosen from bolt thrower or grudge thrower. If you're not a dwarf player, a grudge thrower is a stone thrower, with the grudge written on the stone.
Yeah.
And often a face carved into the stone.
Yep. And then in terms of other units, you can take hammers, as we just mentioned, and dwarf carts, not including miners' carts. Ooh.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Yeah, all right.
Stay tuned in to find out.
Yeah. All right, but maybe we should look at the dwarf carts now then.
Absolutely.
All right.
So I think for the first time ever, dwarves have been given a chariot.
Yeah, certainly the first time in recent memories.
Yeah.
But Bugman's cart existed as a model. That's from like the 80s, I think, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But like at that point, it's way, way back.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, because the gyrocopters count as monstrous cavalry.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's just a mechanical monster.
Yeah.
Let me see. Dwarf carts. Okay, here we go.
So, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, no worries. So a dwarf cart it's a light chariot. It's move 6. So right away, speeding ahead
At twice the speed of a dwarf.
Yep. It has 1 dwarf crew, who is weapon skill and ballistic skill 4. The cart itself is strength 4 and tough 5 with 3 wounds at 65 points. Oh, here we go. The dwarf crew is only leadership 8. So maybe to our war machine crew, maybe leadership 8 as well.
I think there might even be 7, or maybe that's the Empire ones I'm thinking.
You might be
I think they're
Empire
8
ones.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
The less brave dwarves are assigned to guide the ponies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
It's just one guy. It's one guy on the horse.
Yeah.
It's it's crazy.
Okay, so then in terms of special rules, it must take one of the following upgrades, either a Bugman's cart or a miner's cart. Well, in this case, it can't be the miner's cart, so we'll cover that a little bit later. So obviously, we're going to be taking a Bugman's cart. It has impact hits D3 at strength 4. Okay. And other than that, it has all this sort of standard dwarf special rules. And being a light chariot, it's open order. Okay, so Bugman's cart, what's this special rule? During the command subphase of their turn, any dwarf unit that is not fleeing or engaged in combat and that is within 6 inches of a friendly Bugman's cart that is not itself fleeing or engaged, it gains a +1 modifier to its movement characteristic until the end of the turn. Not cumulative. So, apparently the desire to or when you're drinking Bugman's, it turns you from a dwarf into a human?
Yeah, it's kind of like...
Everyone knows that beer is an accelerant, right?
Right. Apparently Bugman's 6X is. Cool. So now you go... So if you've got a dwarf cart, now you're mining... you're mining column. Your marching column is move 4, so it'll go 12 inches... and then possibly another 8 if you want to redress the ranks.
Yeah, it's I think it's quite fairly priced. There's one other unit I can think of that gives +1 to movement. There might be more, and that is the Sloppity Bilepiper upgrade for the Herald of Nurgle, which is 35 points. And this is a 65 point model that does the same thing.
In a much slower army.
In a much slower army, yeah. So the value of +1 movement is pretty big for dwarves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 33% increase versus the 25% for most Nurgle things. And also, this applies to gyrocopters and other slow things, I'm pretty sure. It doesn't say infantry in it.
Yep. It's worth noting that these are available to the Grand Army as well as a rare choice. You can take 0 to 4 of them, just because I was reading the entry. But they're a special choice in the Royal Clan.
I like them. I really like them.
I think, to me, they're an auto include.
Yep.
It's something you're gonna fire up there to get your guys into combat, and then you're going to use them as a chaff unit.
And 3 wounds at tough 5 with a 5 up armor save. That's not super easy to chew through, and they're going to have to target it rather than targeting your units.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be behind in some sort of Death Star formation. And
it's move 6.
Yeah.
And
so we can keep up with those fast dwarves.
Right, and light chariots get that open order. You get that pivot at the end of the move.
Yep.
So there's a lot going on there that's very good about that little unit.
I would love if these became like a staple to the dwarves from now on. Just these little ponies.
I think you will. I think we're going to see dwarven ponies carts.
As someone who only sees Slayers as the fun thing about dwarves, this looks hilarious and I love it. I wish the Dark Elves could have ponies as well.
I know we're talking about the Miner's Cart later, but I think this is probably the better of the two. Although the Miner's Cart is hilarious. It has some sort of 40k shenanigans going on where it can explode when it dies.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there. All right. So that's the special. So your choices really are hammers, carts, and bolt thrower and grudge thrower for special. And then rare, you can take up to 25% on rangers, iron breakers, and iron drakes.
Yep, notably rangers not core, which sucks.
Rangers not core. Iron breakers move out of special into rare, but iron drakes are rare anyway in the Grand Army.
Yep.
Clearly they want you taking more fighty things than rangers and iron drakes. But Iron Breakers moving into rare is interesting to me. Is there a lore reason behind that?
I think Iron Breakers and Iron Drakes might be a little modern.
They are.
Yeah. They definitely look modern. They kind of don't fit in with the rest of the army aesthetically. They look like sort of robo soldiers.
And
they got the metal beards.
Yeah. And being, I think that fits in terms of, the lore for the Royal Clan, right? If you think about it, it's like, yeah, we're the old and crusty long beard types, but this newfangled thing really does blow up a lot of goblins. So you could bring one unit of those along.
Exactly.
Okay, and then there's a mercenary section which is up to 25%. The normal Grand Army is only 20%, and it covers the 3 mercenary units that are actually introduced in the book. Will we cover those a bit later?
Yeah, let's do those later.
Let's go those later.
All right.
So they are very fun.
Yep, they are. Okay. Ben, do you want to take us through the special rules for the Royal Clan?
First thing to say before we move on there is that you can actually have a runesmith as your BSB in this army, which is something you can't do in the normal dwarf army, which is pretty interesting. It kind of it encourages you to take a runesmith. I think what a lot of people are doing is just taking the anvil and not taking a runesmith. But now you can take a runesmith and have it be your BSB as well, so you don't need to just chuck a Thane into the list. I quite like that. There's a little added bonus.
The runesmith is the hero level
Runelord.
Runelord, yeah.
So it's casting spells at level 1 or dispelling at level 1.
Yeah.
And they're very cheap, but also very fighty. They're not like wizards. I think they're like weapon skill 6 or something like that, or 5.
Yeah, they're weapon skill 5.
Yep.
Strength 4, tough 4. 2 wounds, 2 attacks. Only 65 points. Yeah.
Yep. And you typically the way people play these is they load them up with those auto dispel runes.
Yeah.
And kind of just use them to.
I would like to charge with my guys this turn. Thank you, Mr. Illusion Wizard.
Yeah.
You're basically there to like cock block wizards.
As dwarves should be.
Pretty much.
And to add flaming attacks and armor bane 2 to a unit.
Yeah, the Armor Bane 2 is kind of... I've tried it out. I usually put my Runesmith in with some Rangers. It doesn't pay off that well, but it's definitely nice to have.
Yeah.
To keep them out there and give those Armor Bane 4 or whatever it is. But in terms... All right, so special rules. The first one to talk about is Ancestral Fury. During a turn in which a unit of Royal Clan Army makes a charge move of 3 inches or more, or made a follow-up move, it gains a +1 modifier to its strength characteristic. So if you can charge with a dwarf, so not easy, you get +1 strength, which is nice.
Very nice.
So if you have those warriors with the great weapons,
The great axes now become
strength
straight 6.
which is
Yeah.
that's the point you want to be at with weapons.
Well,
Strength 6.
absolutely, because tough 6 is the kind of
It's
meta
dragon toughness.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
monster toughness in general.
Yeah.
It's nice. Every other army gets lances. This is kind of the thing that you get, but as exciting as it is, typically playing dwarves, you don't get to charge.
So one thing I did not look at is okay. So are there regimental and detachment units in dwarfs?
Iron Breakers and Iron Drakes are the ones that you can have regimental. So you can have a detachment of Iron Drakes for a unit of Iron Breakers.
And that's it?
Yep.
Dang. Because that rule with a counter charge, from the detachment would be pretty neat. But if your detachment's only got firing flame weapons, that's not
But
right.
can't the other part of the detachment counter charge for the detachment? So if they charge your Iron Drakes, you could charge with your Iron Breakers?
Yes, but no one in their right mind would do that if you
Yeah,
had that special
I know.
rule.
Which keeps your Iron Drake safe, which
Yeah,
is
that's
nice.
true. Yeah.
It's a deterrent.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's quite a nice rule to have. But will it be relevant? Sometimes you do get to charge with dwarfs if you get lucky, if they fail a charge.
It makes
or more
ponies better.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because your pony's now going to be strength 5 on the charge, and he'll do strength 5 D3 impact hits.
It's not bad.
That's
For 65 points.
Better than nothing. Yeah. Okay.
The next thing to talk about is the riches and heirlooms, which is a cool thematic thing, which is because you're a royal clan, you have more money than the rest of the dwarves. So character models in this army may spend an additional 25 points on runes. In addition, units that are able to purchase standard runes may spend an additional 25 points on standard runes, with the exception of royal clan warriors, who already have this bonus included in their profile.
Aha, I was right. It was a lot of points.
So this doesn't sound like a lot, but when you take a look at the costing of certain runes, this now means that you can combine the Master Rune of Smiting, which is the multiple wounds D6 one, with the Rune of Skulf Blackhammer, which is the always wounding on a 2-up. So you can put that on your king and have them doing multiple wounds D6, always wounding on a 2-up, which is quite nice.
That's very cool.
Yep.
Assuming he ever gets into combat.
Yeah. that's
well, now
always
you've
the
got
thing.
ponies to help him get into combat.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I quite like that. It's again another nice to have. There's maybe some funky combos that you can do. I think you can still only get the really good banner on your BSB, which is the Master Rune of Grugny. I think it's an 80-point banner, and that gives you a 5-up ward for the unit, plus everything in command range gets a 6-up ward against shooting, which for a Death Star army is quite nice. It's quite good. And the last rule...
Yeah, the Master Rune of Grungni actually says BSB only.
Yep.
So, yeah. All right. But now he's a thing, or now he's a runesmith, or he can be a runesmith.
Yeah, so a little bit of extra utility on your BSB.
Yep.
So I quite like that. And then, last but not least, striking a grudge. If you're a lore player, this is the special rule for you. After deployment, but before the first turn begins, nominate a single enemy character. For one reason or another, this individual has earned themselves a place in the clan's Book of Grudges and must be brought to justice. All friendly models gain a hatred nominated enemy character special rule. In addition, you win a bonus of 75 victory points if the nominated character is slain, has fled, or is fleeing when the game ends.
I love it.
Nice.
This is absolutely the dwarf army that I would play if I was playing dwarves. Like, this just appeals to me so much. It's very, very thematic and cool.
Fighty dwarves with no black powder.
And no black powder, exactly.
Yep. It's the way I think about it every time I try and work out how I would play this list is probably like a Death Star. where you buff up all your units. You have your Thane, you have your BSB, you have your runesmiths, you have your anvil buffering everything up, marching up and getting in the face of your enemy. So where it's like
everything marches together.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of the flying T, like like
Vinton Run, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh goodness.
And you still have the grudge throwers, which are probably one of the best artillery choices in the army, and you have bolt throwers as well, which is quite nice. So you still get some shooting, and you have iron drakes, which are the best unit in the army, in my opinion. You still get them. You can still take the Trollhammer torpedo, whereas in the other army with me that you will see today, you cannot. So.
All right. Well, that seems like an excellent segue.
Yep.
Shall we move on to the other army of infantry, or is there more to cover in these guys?
Mark, what do you think of the army? Because I see you sort of reading it over there, trying to think about how you'd fight it with Dark Elf.
I really like how different it is from like a regular dwarf army. It's, I think, exactly what they needed to do. Not just a slow army marching around, getting charged. And I mean, again, ponies. I just love the idea of the ponies. I really, really like the ponies. There was something I was looking at on the ponies. Let's see if I can find the picture of them again. The fact that the ponies themselves also hate orcs and goblins, like that's the proper old true dwarf army. Even the ponies hate the the orcs and goblins.
They've been well trained.
It's not how you've said that. UW is going to FAQ that out. Hatred only applies to the model riding the chariot.
This needs to be the only exception. It needs to be the only exception in the whole game.
It's right there.
Absolutely beautiful.
I love it. All right. Any further thoughts on the royal clans?
It's just really, really cool.
I have played against a list similar to this without the Arcane Journal special rules. In the very first tournament we ever went to for Old World, was a combat line of dwarves with no shooting at all. It was really hard to fight against because you cannot break anything, even if you get the charge off, and then they can countercharge you in your flanks as you have to follow up if they lose the combat or you end up fleeing. It's a really, really difficult time breaking any kind of dwarf line if they've got a big king in there or any big banner rune. Dwarves without shooting is a hard thing to deal with, at least for a combat army like mine was.
Yeah. Hard to get points out of.
Absolutely.
Well, the longer the game goes on, the better it is for dwarfs, right? Because you win that war of attrition. Because you've got high leadership, you've got tanky units, you have ranks, you have buffs. Whereas your enemies charging them, if they're cavalry, they do great turn one, but then you start hitting back and you start driving them away. So it's quite hard to get points early on for dwarfs if you're not shooting. But if you're playing in a long game and you can get the full 6 rounds or whatever it is done, then you have a good chance of winning with this list. It obviously has a lot of drawbacks in terms of the restrictions that are on it, but I can see it be really fun.
You would have the worst time in the world against Wood Elves.
Yeah, that would not be a fun. That would not be a fun game.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about so it almost seems to be the antithesis of a Wood Elf list. Obviously I don't run a dragon, but I think it's something where the strategy for me as the Wood Elf general would be to pick the unit that I wanted to get the points out of, and just concentrate all my shooting on that, and then try and get into combat with it late game, and just stay out of range as much as possible.
Dwarfs actually normally it's an okay matchup playing into Wood Elves because you have shooting and they're very squishy.
Yeah.
So if you can shoot them, it's good. We've played one game of dwarfs versus Wood Elves, although that was very early on.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like just the dwarf shooting was good because they're tough 3.
Yeah.
That's a lot of points you can get from your rangers or your quarrelers or your organ gun. But for this army, you don't really have that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you do have quarrelers in core.
Oh, but you're not taking them if you're playing this.
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, I think maybe you have to take. I think you do have to take something ranged to be able to project threat. Maybe it is the grudge throwers.
Yeah, they're quite good.
Right. But again, against sort of the MSU style of Wood Elves that I'm playing, they're not that great because it's very hard to hit with them. They're great against a big unit, like a big unit of goblins or whatever. Yeah. Because if you miss, you're still probably going to hit. But when you're trying to shoot at 5 archers, It's a whole different set of math. So.
The anvil does have that cool magic missile spell. So if you have 2 anvils in the list, you have some like serious firepower just from that alone. But yeah, that's 28-inch range, right?
Yeah. Okay. So that's not bad. Yeah. It's an interesting. I think I would love to face this on the field. I think.
Hey, we can do it.
I think honestly, I think it would be a really fun game. So yeah, I love that build.
Chalk versus cheese.
I'm wondering, is there, the striking a grudge one, the bonus 75 points, is there any way that would be usable or, effective against, say, a dragon?
I mean, in that it gives everybody hatred.
Which means you reroll hits, yeah?
Yeah.
It's like, is there some way you can maybe mind game your opponent to, stay away from combats with the dragon? Because if they do...
Stay away from combats with the king anyway, because your king is going to whoop the ass of the dragon. Toughness 10 or whatever.
I think all it does is it gives you a minor buff against something like that.
It's a fun rule you get for free.
It is a fun rule you get for free. I don't think it's really going to have much of an impact on the game. To me, it makes it super flavorful. And if I was playing as the dwarves, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to pick somebody and I'm going to make sure I kill it by the end of the game, no matter whether I win or lose. The moral victory comes from killing that guy.
Absolutely.
I do like the fact that hatred is a close combat rule, but to get the points, it doesn't matter how you kill them. You can shoot them down. And then the grudge is, very much satisfied, which is nice.
It's true. And hatred only works in the first round of combat. So
yeah.
Is that still the case?
Yep.
Okay.
I think there's an eternal hatred one that lasts longer than that, but yeah, hatred is just the first turn.
Alrighty, so moving on to the next army of Vivme here, we've got the Dwarf Expeditionary Force, which is kind of more like complete opposite of the Royal Clans. It's got a lot of black powder, very little in the way of fighting comparatively. It looks like a very fun list.
Not to play against, but if you're the dwarf, it's incredible. It's probably incredibly fun. That's just my main takeaway from this. If you wanna see tables flipped, play this list.
It certainly looks very fighty. Nice. So I think then for characters you have... Okay, so you need, similar to the Royal Clans, you have a mandatory engineer or engineer sapper.
That's a new unit.
That is a new unit.
Yeah. Shall we teleport to that page?
Immediately.
Yep.
Engineer sapper.
Here it is.
All right.
So, Dwarf Engineer Sapper. For 70 points, you get a character with movement 3, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 5, strength and tough 4, 2 wounds, initiative 2, 2 attacks.
Is that the same
It's
as
the engineer stat line.
Same as the engineer stat line, yeah.
Yep. And they have a couple different weapon options for pistols and handguns and things. They can get 50 points of runes. They have fairly standard dwarf special rules, but they also have the dig in special rule and the hostile terrain special rule. Dig in says, during any command subphase, if they're not engaged in combat, this character may attempt to lead their unit in the digging of some field works by making a leadership test using their own leadership. If this test is passed, the character in any unit they have joined becomes entrenched. An entrenched unit is considered to be behind partial cover and to be defending a low linear obstacle. Should the unit move for any reason, it is no longer entrenched.
I love that rule.
That's great.
Yep.
It's like, quick lads, grab some of those rocks over there, and
It's the kind of fluffiness that lets you as well do a bit of conversion work. You know, the way for a column of crystal, you make your massive column of crystal. For this, you make a trench for your dwarves because they're digging the trench.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Sandbags with faces carved into them, clearly.
This previously there was no benefit to taking an engineer in a unit, but now this has to be the unit that they're in. Right, it's not a command range thing, so you want to put them in some quarrelers.
And you can't do that with a war machine, can you?
No, because you can't join a war machine.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's nice. It's a very nice thing. You can put this guy, and we haven't talked about it yet, but weapon runes mean that you can turn this BS5 dwarf into a spicy little gunslinger, which I'm incredibly excited about.
We'll get to the new
What,
runes
you're
in a bit,
excited
yeah.
to be shooting stuff, Ben? What?
He also has another thing, which is very much the hunker down and defend your position, which is hostile terrain. Any enemy model that ends its movement within the command range of one or more characters with a special rule that are not fleeing or engaged in combat must make a dangerous terrain test.
Yeah. So a 9-inch bubble.
Yep.
That's pretty neat. Like,
I mean, if he's a general, you can be a 12-inch bubble, but yeah.
That's true. I guess he can be your general.
There's nothing
Oh
stopping
yeah,
him.
I usually take an engineer as my general because it never dies.
That makes
It's
sense.
set at the back of the.
I mean, I never really worry about dangerous terrain being a Wood Elf player, but it's so good against certain armies, especially
That would mess up my chosen block.
against chariots.
Yeah.
Chariots
Oh my
take
goodness.
D3 wounds from dangerous terrain. So,
Oof.
yeah, oof is right.
Yep. It doesn't count as being in dangerous terrain. It's just the test. So
Yeah, but if they
Yeah.
fail a dangerous terrain test, they take D3 wounds.
However,
Yeah.
if they are outside of 9 inches and then they charge you and succeed the charge, they don't make the test
It only says
because you're now engaged in combat.
Yeah.
until next turn, right? Oh no, not fleeing or engaged in combat. Yeah, you're right.
So it's not quite so effective against cavalry, but it is a good way to lock down a bit of terrain.
Yeah, if you're playing a gun line and you're waiting for people to charge you, then when they get within 9 inches, which is like
What's funny is it's most effective against dwarves who only have a 9-inch charge.
Yeah.
If you can't charge,
Everyone
it's
else has the
extremely
ability
good.
to charge from 10 inches or more away.
It's
So-
great against chaos dwarves, kind of.
Yeah, when
Right.
they're not taking black orcs and goblins.
Yeah.
Right. So if they actually charge the unit with the engineer in it, yes, that's true. But if they charge the unit beside, they're still taking the dangerous terrain test.
Yep. You can kind of litter these guys around like little minefield
Right.
guys, hide them behind some terrain.
They're only 70 points.
Yep. So it's probably quite a valid tactic if you're running a gun line to set this up like
Wait,
a
it
potential
says-
line of defense.
Any enemy model, not unit.
Yeah.
So,
Right. So every single one takes a dangerous terrain test,
Well, it's only the ones that are within the command
Yeah.
range.
ooh, okay.
which means that like if you've 20 guys, you make 20 terrain tests, which
Yeah,
is
that's pretty normal. Like all the terrain tests are on a per model basis. So if
okay.
only half your unit wheels through the forest, then it's
Yep.
only those guys that are taking the
it's really nasty for I would hate to fight that guy with my chosen block because I would be making charges on 6s or I'd be taking 20 dangerous terrain tests.
Yep.
Or
Yeah.
18, which is just,
for high points cost models, and they
Yeah.
just straight up lose a wound. So
yeah, there's no saves.
no saves. Yep,
It's just very strong.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on with the list.
I agree.
I mean, the one thing I should last before we move on
Yep.
is notable about these guys is they don't confer the rerolls that other engineers do.
Right.
So that's kind of a downside to them.
So you
Right.
definitely want this guy in a unit. You don't want him sitting back with the...
I think so. So you can take those weapon runes on the handgun, which gives it a 24-inch range with some spicy shooting that we'll see later. So you could just have him floating around shooting stuff.
That's also true.
Yeah.
But you don't want him sitting back with the war machines most of the time.
Probably not. No, these are more like combat engineers, I guess. Yeah.
All right, let's get into the rest of the army to see where they might actually belong.
The second unit entry.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get back to the page. It's kind of awkward on a phone. We can also have up to one Demon Slayer or Dragon Slayer, which I love because Demon and Dragon Slayers are very cool. Other than that, you can take as many Thanes or Runesmiths for your character selections.
Okay, so notably, no kings,
And no
and
rune
no
lords.
rune lords, and no anvil.
Yep. They don't want you to be taking those things in this list. This is turned all the way up to 11 with the engineers.
Yeah.
And I think it's the only dwarf list that lets you take the Demon and Dragon Slayers as the character slot rather than rare, right? Aren't they in one of the other weird... they're the special or rare for these things?
They're the heroes. They're the hero.
Yeah,
Slayers.
in the Grand Army, you can take as many of them as you want.
In characters?
Yep, in
Okay.
characters.
I was mistaken then, my bad.
That's okay.
Yeah, no kings and no rune lords is an interesting dynamic for this army, which does mean that your engineer sapper or engineer could be your
Is
your
most
general.
likely going to be your general. Yeah.
Yeah, the meta right now even is to have in normal dwarf armies the engineer be your general, because that's just points you're never going to give away because they're sitting at the back of the board.
It means you can't take a king if you're doing that, because your general has to be your highest leadership model. And kings are leadership 10.
Yeah, I don't think most people take kings.
Yeah.
They're kind of overcosted a little bit at the moment, but maybe that would be different from the other Army of Infamy that we looked at.
I don't know. We've got 2 dwarf players in the GT, and I'm sad that they won't get to use the Arcane Journal for it.
I know,
but I'm excited to see 2 dwarf players on the fielding different armies on the table.
Nice. For core, we have Dwarf Warriors, Thunderers, and finally finally for this little line of texture, the Dwarf carts, including both types, which is really nice. So do you want to do the Miners carts now?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, no
Yep.
worries.
Sounds good.
These were the ones you were saying were quite silly, Ben.
Oh, they're silly. Maybe you can make them work.
All right, so I've got the page here from when I was reading it earlier. I'll just read the Miner's Cart. So the Miner's Cart is the other special rule you can take instead of the Bugman's Cart. It's no more points. You just have to choose one of the 2. Any dwarf unit that is within 3 inches of a friendly Miner's Cart that's not fleeing or engaged in combat may make a stand and shoot charge reaction and or a shooting attack as if it were equipped with blasting charges. Additionally, when a Miner's Cart loses its last wound to an enemy attack during the combat phase, roll a d6. On a roll of 4+, the Miner's Cart explodes, and every unit, friend or foe, within 3 inches suffers d6 strength 3 hits, each with AP 1 and flaming attacks.
So, blasting charges, for reference, are 6-inch range, strength 3, AP 1, armor bane 1, flaming attacks, and quick shot. So you don't get any negative.
Nice.
What was the strength there?
modifiers
Sorry?
Strength 3.
Yeah.
That's decent.
I mean, if you don't have a shooting attack, now you get one for stand and shoot, or you get a shooting attack. I mean, that basically gives anybody close by a shooting attack. I think the Bugman's Cart is better.
The Bugman's card is so much better. But the mine card is very funny.
Very funny.
It's nice. It's a little bit of extra combat res you might get from the charges.
Yep.
You're probably not going to get to shoot with them in the shooting phase because the range is so small. You'll already have been charged by that point.
Yep.
And it's only a 3-inch confer. So if you want to get this on more than one unit, you kind of have to be in a Death Star formation.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I don't know.
What's the base size in the dwarf card?
50 by 75.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's pretty small.
I mean, 50's not that bad if you want to stick it in between 2 things.
Yeah.
I think what most people will probably end up doing if they want to use these is have exactly what you said, Finton, is to have a unit of guys and then another unit of guys, and in the gap in between they've got this Miner's Cart.
Yeah.
You could do the same thing with a Bugman's cart, though, and you get a way better benefit from it.
Or both.
Or both.
Yeah.
That is true, yeah.
You know, and then it's kind of cool because now it's like a baggage train. You've got the carts in there, and you've
Convoy.
got and everybody's moving a little bit faster. That's
What's funny about that is it means that the dwarf card itself also gets the blasting charges.
and it also gets +1, right?
Oh, yeah,
the
hang on.
Bugman's carts move 7.
These all affect itself.
Yeah.
So that means that the Bugman's card is moved 7.
Yeah.
So it can definitely keep up with that infantry as
Yeah.
Yep. So if you're using the anvil to zoom your dwarf warriors up, you can just march your Bugman's Cart along with it.
Yeah, makes sense.
And we haven't talked about the fact the Miner's Cart on a 4-up explodes.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing about it.
I like that. I mean, it's funny. It's not going to do a whole lot because D6 strength 3 hits. I mean, it's maybe an extra wound if you're lucky, but
throw it into goblins.
It will count as combat res, which is important.
If it explodes.
Yeah, because it's only if it loses its last wound to an enemy attack during the combat phase.
It doesn't explode in shooting?
No.
Oh.
So it's close combat only.
Close combat only. Yeah.
So it is designed to blow up. It's not just
It's a 50-50 shot that it might blow up, and then it's going to do D6 strength 3 hits, each with an AP of 1. So you might get 1 wound out of it, and I think that's funny. But, honestly, if I was only taking 1 card, it's Bugman's.
Yeah, I'm not going to include this as a staple like I would for Bugman's.
Yeah, but I think Bugman's, I would definitely take 1, and depending on how I've put the army together, I might even take 2.
In more casual and narrative games, though, this is amazing.
I think it's actually a pretty good unit. Like it's not an auto include, right? The +1 movement. This is a game about movement. I mean, I don't know how many times I've said that, but I will keep saying it because it is. So anything that buffs your movement, and especially for dwarfs, to me is, if it's not an auto include, you got to have a reason not to take it. And for 65 points to get +1 movement to so many units, yes, sign me up. Now the other one, the miner's cart, is like, okay, I can see there being uses for this, and I can see getting some value out of it, especially if you're playing a campaign where like, okay, my expeditionary force is going out toward the Orc and Goblin Empire player, so I'm going to take these mining carts because I know I'm facing Orcs and Goblins, right? I love that. But if I'm facing Chaos Warriors or something else where there's
Monster Mash,
a lot of armor or high toughness, I'm like, man, maybe I'll leave that one at home, right? So it still has a use. It's just not that sort of auto include level like the Bugman's for me.
The other choices we have for core are, so I think this is actually very similar to the regular Dwarf Mountain Holes army list. 0-1 Rangers per 1,000 as opposed to just 0-1 for core. And then instead of getting Longbeards and core, for this new list we have Scout Gyrocopters as a core choice. 0-1 per 1,000.
Another new unit.
Yes.
Kind of. Yeah. It's more like an edit to an existing unit.
So were the Royal Clan Warriors, really. So
yeah.
It's still technically a new unit in the context of an Arcane Journal.
Yeah. So should we talk about that? The new...
yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? The Scout Gyrocopter?
Yeah.
All right. Yep. I think gyrocopters in general were pretty good. I think the Scout one is neat. Let's talk about it. So
before this Arcane Journal, you would see every single dwarf list taking at least 1, usually 2 or 3 gyrocopters.
I think they were the only real chaff options you had.
The only fast thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this will probably...
This might even replace them in this list.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the Scout Gyrocopter... now, let me just bring up the regular Gyrocopter because I think...
The stat line's the same, except it's 1 less toughness.
I think it's got ballistic skill... Ballistic skill 4 instead of 3.
Oh yeah, you're right. So there's 1 more ballistic skill. That does make a lot of difference with this unit. Actually.
Yeah. So it's ballistic skill 4, but only tough 4. So it's lighter and better at shooting, and it's same 3 wounds.
It's fly 10. Is the regular gyrocopter fly 10?
The regular gyrocopter is fly 9,
so it's a little
faster.
Unit size, you can take 1 to 2
1 to
instead of 1 to
2.
6.
Yeah, exactly.
This is Monsters Clever. You need 2, 3.
Well, they're skirmishers, so
yeah. So it's on a 50 mil base, and it's only 60 points. It comes with a clatter gun and heavy armor.
The clatter gun is 24-inch range, strength 4, AP 1, so like gun profile, armor bane 1.
Yep.
And then it has dwarf crafted, move and shoot, multiple shots D6, and quick shot. So it's like not good against the tankier targets.
Yeah,
but it's
not bad.
Plinking off some wounds, it's pretty good.
I like the
You're essentially getting D6 move and shoot handgun shots, which is really nice.
Yep.
For 60 points.
Yep. They have a couple of. They've got. Let's just go through the special rules real quick. They got Fire and Flee and Fly 10, Hatred Orcs and Goblins. Obviously, they do impact hits D3, magic resistance 1 like all dwarfs, Skirmisher, Swift Stride, and Vanguard. So very fast moving. And then they've got a couple of special rules just for them. One is extended formation, which means that it's a 3-inch skirmish formation instead of a 1-inch, which just makes sense. And then hit and run. So this one is, should it win a round of combat, a unit with this special rule may choose to fall back in good order rather than making a follow-up or pursuit move. I love that special rule.
That's a Wood Elf special
That's
rule.
a Wood Elf special rule in a Dwarf army.
Spoiler for the Dwarf Arcane Journal.
Yeah, I suspect you might be right. That's awesome. Now, the thing is, should it win a round of combat, you have to ask yourself the question, why the fuck were you in combat?
And how did you win?
Yeah, how did you win? Sure, but yeah. I mean, it's strength 4, impact hits D3, so it's fine against chaff, right? You know, I would absolutely charge this into Tomb Swarm or something. So you know, you take out an enemy chaff unit, and then you fall back.
We take out one model in it for Tomb Swarms because they got a lot of wounds.
Yeah, and you only have to win a round of combat, right? You don't.
True.
You don't have to, you know,
Destroy the
enemy or anything.
I mean,
like that.
you're probably going to be flanking with this, right? You're going to have a combat going on. You'll move 10 gyrocopters, zooms right over to this flank.
Right.
Gets the extra combat res, gets the impact hits. You win that combat, and then
right. But with the infantry wins the combat for
Yeah.
you, and then this guy flies off instead of having to pursue.
exactly.
Or they
That
can go
makes
hunt war
That
machines.
makes a ton of sense.
Yep. Oh yeah, war machines. That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hunting war machines at these means that you, even if you don't kill the crew, you can then fall back in good order to get out of there. So that way you don't get responded to by a lot of other shooting or a unit that's been hanging back to defend the war machines.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, to me, the main thing that I like about these is they are core.
They're core and they're 60 points.
Yep. So
This is a perfect chaff amount of points.
They fulfill the same role that gyrocopters do for less
Yeah.
and better.
they're a little less tough, which is it means they are a bit more vulnerable.
Yeah.
But, I mean, 3 wounds is still pretty good.
I mean, it's almost, so I'm looking at it obviously again through Wood Elf eyes, is very similar to the Great Eagle, right? It's the same size of base. It's got the same number of wounds, same strength and toughness. It gets an armor save, which is nice. And it gets impact hits, right? So it's definitely, it's better in a lot of regards, but it's also, it's the same price, right? A Great Eagle, 60 points.
Yep.
Yeah, it's I like it. I would, you know, for the role that the gyrocopter plays, this does the same job but better, in my opinion. Now,
Yep.
if you're a bombing type of gyrocopter player, you're like, whatever. But I think most people use the gyrocopter for the chaffy purposes.
You can take the Gyro Bomber in rare for this list anyway, which is nice.
Sure. Well, the gyro bomber. I mean, the gyrocopter also has a bomb option, doesn't it?
One single bomb.
Yeah, it's one.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Oh, wait, sorry, yeah, there's a Gyrocopter here, and then there's a Gyro Bomber in this. Okay, so the Gyro Bomber.
Let's go back to that. I think we've talked about that unit. What's the?
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Next
Sorry,
one, special,
I was missing up my up my units there.
real quick though, this one is also 25% core rather than 33.
Yeah.
So both the armies with me here are 25%.
They do have 33% rare though, which is a little bit different again.
Oh yeah,
Ah, that is interesting.
that is interesting.
Is that the first time we have? No, I
33%.
You get more rare,
yeah.
and you don't have to take any more core.
You don't get that in the. You
don't get that in the Royal Clans.
Yeah.
So what's the rare like on this? Well, we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah. All right, Mark, bring us back to the.
Okay, so going back to our special choices, because that's core taken care of. For special, it's 50% as usual. And first up is we have minor scout gyrocopters and gyrocopters for our first selection here, which is nice. So yeah, gyrocopters. And am I reading this right?
Yep.
Oh, scout gyro.
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
here.
So you can take one unit of scout gyrocopters per 1,000 as core, but you can take as many as you want in special.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
And regular gyrocopters too.
And regular gyrocopters. Yeah.
nice.
We also, yep.
Yeah, it is nice that we get miners as well in Expeditionary Force because would make sense.
Are miners not normally core?
No, they're rare or special. Sorry, special.
Right.
Yeah, miners and gyrocopters are special, so this is no change.
Do any of you remember that before Old World was launched? Everyone was panicking, like, "Oh, there's going to be this dwarf list with 100 gyrocopters." This is that list. If you want it to be, I don't think it would be good.
Well, even following the rule of 3, you could still have 9 gyro devices.
Absolutely.
So you get you take 3 units of scouts and 3 units of gyrocopters, and then 3 units of gyro bombers.
Yeah.
And
that's 9 individual units.
You put 3 in
models.
each unit of gyrocopters and 2 in each unit of scout gyrocopters.
I mean, I think that is kind of ridiculous, but having the 6 individual gyrocopters is not that ridiculous.
Yeah, and they're not that expensive either. It's not that many points.
So it's 180 for the 3 scouts, and the regular gyro is what? 70 something, 75,
60.
The regular gyro is only 60 as well.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was 65.
Yeah, you're right. It's 60.
Oh, wow.
It's more if you add on the update the gun
rather than the silly steam gun, which never does anything.
So for 360 points, you can get 6 excellent chaff units. Yeah, I would absolutely take that.
Yep, if you can, if whatever Games Workshop are charging for gyrocopters right now, probably I just print them. I think they're like €40 a single gyrocopter. That's €40 for 60 points.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it doesn't translate very well.
You could just convert like a dwarf strapped to a hot air balloon or something like that, attach them with a piece of string or something,
I saw you posted an alternative model in the thread where we were looking at this.
It's a barrel.
It's a barrel copter. It's an MOM miniatures. I think it's like €15.
It's perfect for the scout
resin,
copter.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's beautiful.
I love it.
The flying barrel from MOM Miniatures.
All right, what else do we have in special, Mark?
We have up to 3 war machines per 1,000, chosen from bolt thrower, grudge thrower, and finally a cannon. So, yeah. Similar to the last list, but this time we get the cannon, and I believe, do we have the restriction of 1,000 points for the last one?
Yeah, that's exactly the same as in the
but now you have cannons.
in the Grand Army composition.
Yeah. And it's pretty much the same as in the Royal Clans, just now you have cannons.
Yeah.
Nice.
Makes sense.
Okay, so the last one then for this list, aside from the mercenary stuff, would be the rare. So up to 33% this time, which is a little bit different. We get gyro bombers, which I think
they're rare normally.
They're rare normally. Yep. Okay. Slayers, which I think they are also rare, aren't they? Oh, sorry.
Slayers are normally.
I think regular Slayers are normally special, aren't they?
Special, yep.
Oh, lovely.
Yep.
Okay. We also have up to 2 war machines chosen from the organ gun and flame cannon per 1,000 points.
That's exactly the same as the Grand Army.
Yep.
But now you have 33% rare allowance, so you can take more of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess you can fit more in terms of points.
Take 4 organ guns.
Oof.
That's just gonna. Oh man, that would suck.
I hate organ guns. They're the anti-elf weapon.
Well, have you seen Hellblaster volleygans?
Yes, I hate those too.
Do you hate them about 33% more? Or 50% more, I guess. I don't know. Because it's 3 dices instead of 2.
I don't mind them quite so much because they're lower leadership.
They also roll misfires more, which means that they hit way less.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I added the ability to calculate that to my dice calculator app, and they turn out to be about as effective as organ guns in most cases.
Even with an engineer?
I didn't look at engineers, but just on their own, they're about as effective. Also notably in this army of infamy, we do have the ability to take an engineer as your battle standard bearer or a thane, just the same as in the Royal Clans.
I like that too.
It's the reason this is good is because of one particular rune. Well, at least in my head, the way I'll be running this, if I wanted to 100% commit to the gun line, is I'd be taking an engineer BSB, putting the master rune of Grugni on it, giving a 5 up to whatever unit he's in, probably rangers, and then a 6 up to everything else in its command range. So you've got a defense against shooting. You can just stand there and wait for everything to come to you, make all the dangerous terrain checks in the world, get shot down, get hit by your organ guns, get misdirected by your gyrocopters. And that's probably how I play this out.
Yep.
Yep.
Come at me, bro.
Exactly.
So that's all the units aside from the mercenaries, we'll get to in a bit. We do have some special rules here for the army of me. First of all, we've got Expeditionary Marksman. 0 to 1 unit of Thunderers per 1,000 points may be upgraded to Expeditionary Marksman for +1 point per model. Expeditionary Marksmen do not suffer any negative to hit modifiers for moving and shooting. In addition, any Dwarf Engineer may be upgraded to an Expeditionary Marksman for +10 points. Having moving and shooting Thunderers is really strong.
Because they're 24-inch range, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're normally -2 if you move and shoot, aren't they? Or are they just straight up move or shoot?
They have -2 to moving and shooting.
Yeah.
Are they cumbersome?
It's ponderous or cumbersome.
Ponderous. What are those? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can never remember which one's which.
Yeah.
They can stand and shoot, but they get -2 to move and shoot.
Right. That's not bad.
For 1 point per model.
You're only... how much are you going to be moving them is the question.
Well, now you can move them.
Yeah, if you must, you can. Yeah.
Well, the next rule sort of leads into this because you might be moving them even if they're next to war machines. So that's why it's pretty interesting.
Let's go. Function over form. Do you want? I'll read it. Sure. When writing your muster list, you may reduce the toughness characteristic of any of the following war machines by 1 to a minimum of 1. Cannon, organ guns, flame cannon. Spoiler: they all have high toughness. It's not going to go down to 1. Yeah. Any war machine that has its toughness reduced in this way also loses the move or shoot special rule.
Whoa.
It feels good, I suppose. Then they can actually move.
Yeah. So now your cannon can become mobile.
Yeah, you can walk around with your cannon.
Your organ gun. Yeah.
I mean, the organ gun.
It's the flame cannon is the one that it actually really benefits from this because it has such a short range in comparison.
Yeah, it's just a shame it's so bad.
Yeah. Organ guns are not bad either.
I think having organ guns and Thunderers moving upwards in the entire... being able to move your entire shooting upwards if your opponent is hanging back outside of your range means that they have to come to you because you have that threat of an extra 3 inches of range every turn.
Yeah.
With no negative penalty to shoot with either of these units.
You do get -1 to hit though for the organ gun, wouldn't you?
That's true, because that's just base.
Yeah.
So,
but it's not -2.
Yeah, it's not -2.
I actually think where this will be used is more that you'll move sideways.
Yeah.
Not forwards, right? It's more about like moving so that you're starting in a position where it's like, okay, I can see all of this space. And now my enemy has moved behind that cover. So I want to move a little bit so that, that little bit of the base that I can see if I move 3 inches.
Forward with the Bugman's cart.
Yeah, forward with the Bugman's cart. Yeah. Now I can target him with my laser guided cannonball.
Yeah.
You
Cannons not relying on ballistic skill means that you get to cannon perfectly accurately every single turn, even when moving.
Yeah.
So I think that, moving cannons is pretty strong.
You can do the cha-cha slide over to the left.
You're right, because
to the right.
So it's a skirmisher, so everything's a 360 arc. So you're always moving 4 inches in any direction you want to move. There's none of this wheeling nonsense. And then you can pivot, of course, and shoot in the direction you want to shoot. So it really actually does give quite a lot of mobility options.
Compared to not moving.
Not moving, yeah.
I'm just getting the mental image of how many crewmen are there in a dwarf crew?
3.
3 or 4? Yeah, just 3 dwarves. Like there's no wheels on the cannon. They're just walking around holding it up.
I really want the modeling opportunities.
The dwarf version of a lead belcher.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm imagining one dwarf just picking it up like a wheelbarrow, one riding on top of it and shoving cannonballs in the front, and then one running afterwards with all the spare cannonballs.
Or
dwarven teamwork.
Or 3 dwarfs roped to an ogre with a lead belcher. Like they're down there. It's like, okay, come on, Boris. This is where we're shooting now.
Nice.
All right, last special rule.
The crazy one. This is the super fun one. All right, I'll read this one out. Oh, it's so long. Okay.
Can your voice handle it after podcasting for so long, Ben?
Oh, I'll try. If your army includes a unit of miners, you may, after both sides... Oh, this is called subterranean ambush, by the way. Yeah. If your army includes a unit of miners, you may, after both sides have deployed, but before the first turn of the game begins, deploy 2 32mm round mine markers, plus 1 additional marker for each additional unit of miners your army includes. These markers can be deployed anywhere on the battlefield that is not within the enemy player's deployment zone, 12 inches of another friendly mine marker, 6 inches of an enemy unit, and 3 inches of a special feature or an objective marker. When a unit of miners would arrive on the battlefield as reserves, it can be placed anywhere on the battlefield within 6 inches of a mine marker, but not within 6 inches of an enemy unit. The unit cannot charge during this turn and counts as having moved for the purposes of shooting, but can otherwise act as normal.
I love
Cool. It's like the Gene Stealer rule.
This is the old way that miners used to work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is,
and this is great.
I think this should just be in the base rulebook, but it's nice that we have it here.
Well, I think it's good, right? Here is your expeditionary force, right? How do they explore? Underground.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
You can use these guys to get up in the face of the enemy before they have an opportunity to get towards your thunderers and cannons who are walking forward.
Yeah. So for folks that are maybe not up to speed on all of the different dwarf units, so miners are sort of heavy infantry with a standard dwarf profile that have the ambusher's special rule and the vanguard special rule. And they...
Equipped with great weapons, right?
They're equipped with great weapons, and they can take blasting charges, which we've already talked about. That was what's on the mining cart. And they can also upgrade to take a steam drill.
This is so funny.
Which is, it's, I think it's, where does the steam drill go?
It's a 20-point upgrade for your prospector.
For your champion, yeah.
And it's strength plus 3, so strength 6, AP 3, and it has...
Hey, we were just talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you get furious charge with it.
Oh my goodness.
But the reason I think it's really worth taking is actually hidden in the notes on the steam drill. Because a unit of miners held in reserve that includes a prospector equipped with a steam drill may re-roll the d6 when rolling to determine if they arrive on the battlefield. So if you're going to... So ambushers is kind of a crummy special rule this edition. You only arrive on a 4-up.
And it doesn't increase.
It doesn't increase. It used to be that each turn it got one more likely until eventually it became a certainty.
There is a very real possibility your unit will not show up.
Well, you automatically show up in turn 5.
Right. But by that point it doesn't matter.
Right.
Especially if you're a dwarf with a movement of 3.
Right. But now it does matter, because those mining counters are going to really help you position stuff. And even if you never use them, your enemy has to play around them, right? Your opponent has to worry about, or maybe they don't worry about it, but I think a unit turning up with great weapons 6 inches away from you has to be something you consider.
Yeah, this is like the for any fans of Death Note, this is like the light Yagami list, where you play mental warfare with your opponent. Like, oh, do I want to go within the command range of this engineer sapper and risk the dangerous terrain, or do I want to get flanked by those miners if I move over there? And also, what about the range on those cannons that can move every turn? How do I stay out of line of sight of that? You're going to get a migraine from playing against this list.
Absolutely. Also, you can give those miners blasting charges, so when on the first turn, they can come out and walk one tiny bit towards an enemy unit that was within 6 inches of the marker, and blasting charge them, as they have a 6-inch range, right?
Right.
And they can move, so
that's true.
You can't charge, but you can blasting charge them on the first turn.
That is very true.
Nice.
So you come out, move forward, shoot. Actually, if you were close to a cart, you could move up and only be 2 inches away. So here's a tactical tip. If you can get to within, so you're closer than 3 inches to enemy units, it cancels out Furious Charge and it cancels out impact hits. I don't think there's anything else it cancels out, but
Lances?
No, lances, sadly, no matter what. Just to be confusing.
It reduces their initiative by 1. Ooh.
It does reduce their initiative by another 1. Not that it matters because you're striking last anyway. But it can make a difference. So anyway,
particularly against chariots and other impact hit things.
Yeah, anything with impact hits or furious charge, which seems to be a lot of that sort of stuff.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, this is a very cool sort of thematic army as well. I love it. It's definitely a you sort of army, Ben.
Yeah.
It's not a me sort of army.
Yeah, the thing is, you can play it like a gun line, which I do like to play, but you can also be just like a tricksy little guy with your tricky sleeve of tricks.
I don't think you've much punch in this army, right? So you've no hammerers, you've no iron breakers, you've nothing like you don't have anything that really get you to strength 6 except for your black powder.
The important thing for this army that we haven't spoken about yet is no iron drakes, which are probably like the best unit in the dwarf army.
I think you said that
torpedo,
already.
Yeah. So which is kind of weird because you'd expect them to be in here, but maybe it would be a little too strong, or maybe
the armor's too heavy.
Clunky,
Can't go on an expedition with it.
Yeah, exactly. So
You need to stay at home and polish that armor 15 hours a day.
Yeah. So here's an interesting thing, and here's how I think I think people might end up using the expeditionary force. In all of the grand armies, let me just double check and make sure I'm not going to eat my words. Yep. So in the grand armies, you can take an army of infamy as allies. And so you could, this seems to be the sort of army.
I know where you're going, yeah.
Well, it really seems to be the sort of army that lends itself well to being allied in, because none of the stuff that you want to take in this list is particularly high points value, right? So a 500 point force of allies from this is actually worth taking and pretty strong.
Gyrocopters, rangers.
Right, your gyrocopters.
Ponies.
Yeah. Well, your ponies can be taken anyway.
But the dwarf card only affects dwarf units, sadly. So you can't speed up an elf unit to speed 6.
Oh,
No,
they don't
but-
need it.
but
They can
I'm-
just admire it.
I'm thinking about even bringing in this as a allies into a regular dwarf list. Right?
That's true, yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
now you can have your miners have the subterranean ambush rule, which you want to give them. You can have your cannon have that function over form special rule, right? I don't know exactly how many. Let's see. Hang on. No, your cannon can't come in. Damn it, because they're per 1,000 points.
You get a sapper, which would be
You
nice.
can get a sapper, which is neat.
Sappers are very nice.
Yeah. So I think there's possibilities for bringing this in as a.
I didn't even think about that.
I haven't fully explored it. It's a hot take, obviously, but I think that might be an idea.
Yeah.
We might have to reevaluate this a little bit once we get to the weapon runes, because they're going to probably totally change how you're viewing engineers.
We'll get to them in a bit.
Yeah.
So we've gone over both of the armies of infamy in some good level of detail, but we've left out a bit of it with the dwarf mercenaries, which are a couple new units that we can get access to. These are the Imperial Dwarf Mercenaries, Doom Seekers, and the Goblin Hewer, and these are available to both armies of infamy. I believe they're also available to the Grand Army in limited quantities. And they are very fun units, and I think that these are going to be taken at least a little bit in most armies.
They're also, I think they're all available in Empire as well, aren't they?
Well, we can cover that as we go through each
yeah.
one.
Yeah. Speaking of Empire, let's start off with the Imperial Dwarf Mercenaries. The dwarves from the Empire. Ben, if you want to take it away.
Sure.
As the local Empire player.
So, TLDR, they are dwarf warriors that can be taken as mercenaries. They're 8 points base, which is the usual cost for dwarf warriors, except they come equipped with light armor instead of heavy armor. So if you want to bring them up to their heavy armor base, they'll be one more point more expensive. The main distinguishing factor about these dwarfs is they can also take spears. So that's pretty much it. They've got all the other rules that everyone else has, that dwarfs usually have: close order, hatred, orcs and goblins, magic resist 1, resolute shield wall. And then they've got the normal dwarf stat line: movement 3, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 3, strength 3, tough 4, wound 1, initiative 2, 1 attack, and leadership 9.
So for 10 points, they could have heavy armor and shield, and another point would give them spears. So
11 points a model, you have dwarf warriors with spears.
yeah, with heavy armor, shields, shield wall, and spears.
You can give them drilled and veteran as well, 0 to 1 per 1,000 points.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think about like, so you can take them in dwarfs. Maybe you would for the spears, but I
Are
don't
spears
think
really
so.
that valuable?
No, I don't think
No,
so.
they're going to be strength 3.
But would you take them in?
maybe 0.
Yeah, would you take them in? Oh, I mean, a spear unit is not an attack unit, right? It's an
Yeah.
anvil, classic anvil unit,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I think spears on dwarves is actually pretty decent. Like, we haven't really, like, compared to just hand weapons, right? You're getting twice as many attacks base, essentially.
yep.
You're losing out on the strength of great weapons. But, you know, you still have more attacks than you would with just hand weapons. And it's for 1 point more than, or maybe 2 points more than base dwarf warriors.
Yeah, I'm not convinced by them in a dwarf list, but what about in an empire list?
I mean, state troops are 5 points base. So if you want to give them shields and spears, there'll be 7 points a model. Which, if you want, yeah.
There'll be tough 3 and light armor.
Tough 3 light armor base, yep. They won't have shield walls. So yeah, they're actually stat-wise, I think they're kind of worth the points.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they're mercenaries, so they have that rule where they can't benefit from the battle standard bearer.
And on a 1, they misbehave.
Yeah. So
Right.
the thing
I think this is very flavorful. They're not
Yeah.
terribly practical.
Yeah.
I actually, so this is starting to see the mercenaries come out like from the Orcs and Goblins journal, and this one, it starts to make me want to start up the Mighty Empires campaign again because that has there's things as you explore the map in the Mighty Empires campaign, you get mercenaries sometimes.
That's fun.
And there wasn't like we were playing it where it's just like, okay, well, you've got some extra points of stuff, but actually having points of mercenaries where you can take actual mercenaries and use them with those rules, that sounds really fun.
Yeah. It does feel like these are kind of like more of a for fun thing. Like they do feel like, looking back at the really old lists of like Dogs of War and Regiments of Renown and all that kind of stuff, you know, here's a thematic human spearman unit, led by someone who's a bear or someone who is like, themed as a Spartan or something like that. Or if here's a Dogs of War unit that is on a guy on a dragon or something like that, or whatever it is. It feels like these are just, here are your dwarves with spears, and in it, like, I know it's kind of cropped out a little bit, but I'm sure whatever the flavor text is on the side is like going to be really, really cool, at least for someone who's into dwarves, who also collects Empire. So
Yeah.
ideal for you, Ben.
It's the thing is, if you're playing an Empire army, the way you've probably built around your spearmen or around your state troops is to have them be an economy of scale type unit. So you'll have buffs up on them, you'll have spells up on them, you'll have the Empire really cool banners, you'll have the Griffin banner, you'll have whatever else, and prayers. And if you're taking this unit, you're kind of just not allowing yourself access to a lot of those things.
Actually, now that you mention it, is there any particular spells that would suit dwarves well?
Oh,
Basic
yeah.
warriors? Was that an unknown combo, maybe?
Arcane Urgency is nice. Because I did look at bringing dwarfs to the... Because allies are allowed at the GT, I did look at bringing a dwarf contingent in my Emperor army. It's not that great.
It won't be that great for an allied contingent. However, these guys are mercenaries, so they don't need a character to come with them.
Oh, yeah.
So they're much cheaper in investment for a much more heavily armored unit with a much higher weapon skill, and just generally a better unit than state troops for a little bit more on the expensive side, that you can still pump your spells into, just not your banners or your character buffs.
And you can give them veteran if you're worried about them running away.
They're already leadership 9 as well.
Yeah.
The veteran doesn't apply to break test, does it?
It does. It's every leadership test, right?
It's not a leadership test, though.
It's not a leadership test. Dang it. Yes, of course.
Because break tests that use leadership aren't leadership tests.
Yes. It's the one thing it doesn't apply to. So yeah.
If you want the Master Rune of Hesitation or the Master Rune of Confusion on your banner, though, you can take this in an Empire army.
Master Rune of Hesitation. Ooh.
Yeah. So if you want a really big block of spear guys with that rune, so that when they get charged, they're a bit more sturdy. They got shield wall as well.
That turns off cavalry.
Those are under 50 points, are they?
Those are 50. Yeah, those are under 50 points.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That's really strong.
Yeah, that is. I think there's possibilities here, right? It's not a pure fluff choice.
Yeah.
or pure narrative choice. It is. I think there's definitely a
getting those
spot for it.
runes and getting magic on dwarves. Like you can work together with the Empire. I don't think you'd ever take this in a dwarf army list though.
I agree. I tend to agree anyway. I think there's so many better options.
Like dwarf warriors.
Right.
Anyway, let's move on to the significantly more fun unit here, Doom Seekers.
Aha. Doom Seekers, they're really cool slayers with a crazy amount of attacks who die hard like Bruce Willis. So Bruce Willis dwarves, essentially.
I think of them like the whirling dervishes, or something like that, or kind of like goblin fanatics.
I was going to
almost.
say they are dwarf fanatics.
All right, they yeah. Sorry, keep going, Mark.
Yeah, no worries. So the usual movement 3 for dwarves, weapon skill 5, which is pretty good. No weapon or no ballistic skill. Strength 5, toughness 4, 2 wounds apiece, 3 initiative, 2 D3 attacks, 10 leadership, all for 50 points. Their whirling blades of death count as just a single hand weapon. They're heavy infantry. They're only unit size of 1 though. They can purchase weapon runes.
They are a
up
character.
They are a character?
Yeah.
Oh, they are, of course. Cool. They can purchase weapon runes up to a total of 50 points, and their special rules are, let's see, Deathblow, Doomseeker, which is a special rule only they get, First to the Fray, a special rule they get, Grumble Weapons, Hatred for Orcs and Goblins, Immune to Psychology, Impact Hits for a character for T3 plus 1, Loner, so no one can join them, or they can't join anyone who isn't a loner as well, Magic Resistance -2, Random Attacks, Resolute, Unbreakable, Vanguard, and Whirlwind of Death, which is another special rule that is specific to them.
That is some keyword soup.
It is. It's a lot of special rules.
It's like a paragraph of special rules.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous.
I just want to point out that with Ballistic Skill 0, they cannot use the miner's cart.
It's true. They're too busy spinning around with their axes.
Exactly.
So they're getting 2d3 attacks plus d3 plus 1 impact hits, all at strength 5, which is pretty strong.
Yeah.
Let's get into their unique special rules.
They're definitely a blenders, all right. So Doomseeker. With each victory they witness, a Doomseeker laments their inability to meet a worthy doom. At the end of battle, any Doomseeker that has been slain is worth no victory points. However, if a Doomseeker is still alive, the enemy player wins a bonus number of victory points equal to 100% of its points cost, so that 50 points apiece if you don't kill them.
And if you don't give them any weapon runes, they're just 50. They could be up to 100.
Ah.
Yeah. So this is a controversial sort of rule in that it kind of encourages not playing with them. Right. I mean, speaking as a Wood Elf player who generally runs away from things, this is like, here's a unit that benefits me to run away from them double. So I think, you're going to struggle to get this guy into combat, except for his next special rule.
First to the fray. In battle, Doomseekers rush ahead of the Dwarven lines, eagerly seeking out worthy foes. This model increases its maximum possible charge by 3 inches, and when it makes a charge roll, may apply a plus D3 modifier to the result. So it's very chargy, which is nice.
It's like small Swift Stride.
It is. It's Dwarven Swift Stride.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It'll help him get into combat a little bit
It'll
easier.
absolutely help, right? So now he's got a 12-inch possible charge range instead of a 9-inch.
Yep. You're very unlikely to get that 12, but it
Sure.
helps.
Um,
It really secures his 9-inch charges, I think, is the main thing.
right. It does, exactly.
Characters outside of units get skirmish for free, don't they?
Yes, he is a skirmisher.
Okay, so he's going to be even harder to shoot down.
He does have Loner, which means that he can only join Slayer units, I believe,
Yeah.
because they also have Loner.
Yep.
I don't know that I'd ever want him to be put in a unit because you want him to die, but maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Your enemy is not going to want to shoot him off
Yeah.
in the same...
So your enemy has to either run away from him or take damage and then lose the points for that, or shoot him off and then lose the points for that.
Yeah.
He's kind of a lose situation no matter what you do.
It's a lose-lose, yeah.
He's got one more special rule.
Yep, Whirlwind of Death. Doomseekers plow recklessly into the enemy ranks with their rune-struck weapons, whirling and spinning in wide and deadly arcs. Impact hits caused by this model are resolved using the profile of its whirling blades of death. In addition, when this model makes a roll to wound, a roll of 4+ is always a success, regardless of the target's toughness.
Okay, so your impact hits are always wounding on a minimum of 4.
And they're strength 5 AP 1.
And then strength 5. Oh, where's the AP
Grumble
1?
weapons.
Oh, grumble
Oh, right,
weapons,
yeah.
yeah. And then, but if you purchase any weapon runes on it, the impact hits are also.
How exactly do you purchase weapon runes? Those can only be put on hand weapons and great weapons, and Whirling Blades of Death are not a hand weapon.
It does.
They
They
count
are
as
a hand weapon. They count
No,
as
no.
a hand weapon.
They count as a hand weapon. They are not a hand weapon.
We did have this distinction before. Like hooves aren't technically hand weapons; they just count as them. So you can't,
I mean, you must be able to. put it on.
100% the intent is to do that.
Yeah.
But rules as written, technically you're not able to put runes on these guys.
This then does answer that question. So I suppose then does that mean other things that count as hand weapon? No, there was something in the FAQ about this, right?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure in the FAQ they said something
In
like
the FAQ, they also said that riders and mounts are two different models. So
I suppose they said a lot of things.
they say
Okay,
a lot
clearly,
of things.
clearly, you can give this guy 50 points of weapon runes, and he only has Whirling Blades of Death as his weapon. So this is what he's got.
That must be the intention. Yeah, they'll probably FAQ it to clarify that again. But yeah, they definitely. I'm positive I heard something about. No, I'll stop. But
Please.
yeah.
So can you give this guy multiple wounds on his attacks?
I think that rune is a little more expensive. Let's have a quick look at the dwarf weapon runes, shall we?
Well,
Yeah.
you can put him into the dwarven mount, the royal clans, can't you? And then he can get 75 points of weapon runes.
Yes, I think that would actually work.
Oh, that's interesting. Let me.
And you can take 4 Doomseekers in royal clans. You can take 3 in the Mountain Holds or Empire of Man Grand Army, and 2 in Expeditionary Force.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. So it says character models in this army may spend an additional 25 points on runes.
And they are
So
in the army.
In this army,
It says right there, mercenaries in the army.
yeah, I would
So-
think so.
Getting a 75-point weapon runes on the Doomseeker who's going to die and get no points to your opponent is pretty good. What about 75-point madness you can come up with for 2d3 attacks with d3 plus 1 impact hits that wound on 4s?
Master Rune of Flight.
ESBS 0.
ESBS 0.
I mean, if,
Waste 25 points.
if you can put the Master Rune of Smiting on this, which is the 75-point rune, that's D6 multiple runes.
That's ridiculous.
That is insane. Hello, dragon. D3 plus 1 wounds that wound on a 4+.
I feel like we must be missing something.
I don't think so.
I think that's intended.
Wow, okay. And then you can also load them up with Slayer runes, which we haven't talked about yet, or Tattoo runes, and make them a lot of points that the enemy won't get if it dies.
Yeah.
So,
That's pretty ridiculous.
yeah.
I like Doomseekers a lot. I think these are going to be a very common sight on the battlefield.
I mean, the whole thing about avoiding them too is Wood Elves are kind of the exception because they play a certain way that most of our armies can't really emulate.
They're an avoidance army.
Yeah.
There are no other avoidance armies in the base
No,
rules.
God,
Yeah.
thank God.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly feel kind of dirty playing Wood Elves sometimes because of that.
Yeah, I mean, like, with the exception of, like, Outriders, I guess, they can kind of avoid stuff with Fire and Flee, but
Yeah.
not
Chuck
the same
3
way.
Doomseekers into my chosen, kill 5 of them, and then they all die and I get no points. Like,
Yeah.
that is really strong.
So the way I'm thinking about playing these, because I've ordered some off at the MOM miniatures site, is I'm going to park them next to my Rangers, who are the vanguard force of my Dwarf army, who sit on either flank. You can't just ignore those Rangers and leave them to be there, because they'll shoot you for the entire game with really good ballistic skill.
It hurts.
Yeah, so they're like the first line of defense for every Dwarf army I run. And so once they charge your Rangers, guess who's coming in on the flank? This Doomseeker guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's either I kill your unit and get loads of points, or you kill my guy and you get no points.
Yeah,
Woo.
exactly.
Literally, there's no point in not throwing a Doomseeker at any problem because his points are so secure.
I mean, that Master Rune of Smiting, now your impact hits.
You take 4 of the... No, you can't take...
You can only take one.
You can only take one with this Rune of Smiting.
Master Rune of Smiting,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's definitely... Now somebody has to shoot that off.
Yeah.
Because if they've got a monstrous unit of any kind, this is just going to...
And that's 125 points that you've just secured.
Yeah.
I like the Rune of Alaric the Mad on it as well, which is a 45-point
No armor
rune,
save.
No armor save.
Yeah.
Wounding on 4s, no armor save
Wounding
is...
on 4s every
It's
time.
just no armor save, but ward saves and region saves are there still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do... If you charge, you do 3d3 plus 1 attacks. So that's going to be like 7 on average.
Yeah, and against anything with toughness 3 or 4, you're going to be wounding on 2s or 3s.
Yeah.
So like, if you charge this into, like, say, Chosen Warriors as an example, you're getting 3d3 plus 1 attacks that are wounding on 3s with no armor saves. So that's going to be a lot of hits and a lot of wounds.
Here's my hot take tech. I actually think that this is the first unit where I think there's a real use for the Master Rune of Breaking. Which is the one that destroys enemy model magic items, magic weapons.
Why, hello there, Mr. Dragon.
Right. Whatever your ogre blade or whatever it is you're carrying, I'm just going to run in, swing at you. You'll maybe take 1 wound from my 3d3 plus 1, right, that are wounding you on a 4+. And then you'll kill me, mostly likely down to stomps, but now you won't have your magic weapon anymore.
That's pretty big as well.
That's not bad.
Yep.
Because because of that Doomseeker rule, like what the one that where you don't get any points for them, I think now it becomes like what are the one hit or one trick sort of things that you wouldn't normally think about taking, but now there's a reason to take them.
And that tech that you're talking about, I think there's even more text like that.
Yeah.
Once we get to the tattoos, because you'll see some of them.
I haven't read the tattoos yet, so I'm very excited to look at these.
Good.
Yeah.
I think Doomseekers are going to be just like a very, like, I think every single dwarf army that can include them, and possibly even some Empire armies, because you can take them in Empire.
Oh, yeah. I'm 100% taking them in my Empire gun lines.
Like, this is such a good unit.
Yeah.
I was just looking at so the Expeditionary Force can it gives them an extra 25 points on top of their weapon runes, right? And then
no, it's the Royal Clan.
Royal Clan.
Oh, it's the Royal Clan. Okay, all right. Maybe this wouldn't work then. All right, but I mean, I suppose you get 2 per 1,000 points for these guys, so that's what, 300 plus another 300, 600.
If he counts as being, sorry, Mark, to cut you off. If he counts as being in the Royal Clan, does that mean he's +1 strength when he does the charge move?
Oh God, you're right.
Oh wow, strength 6.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe we need to reread the rules
Mercenaries.
for mercenaries.
I'll do that while we're talking about other stuff, because I don't want to get too excited.
If that is the case, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, it's 4 per 1,000 points.
That's what I was going to get at. If you load them up fully, how many points can you guarantee that your opponent cannot have as long as they die?
800.
Yeah.
Wow.
But only 25% of your army can be
that's only 2,000 points, though. If you're 3,000 points, that's like 600, right?
Right, but only 25% can be mercenaries. Is the restriction.
We should park that one, because there's also more points you can deny using the Slayer tattoos as well.
Oh boy. I think we've been talking about those so much. We should just hold off on going over the Goblin hero real quick. We should just jump right into those.
Yeah, you want to do... yeah, let's do that.
I would be happy. Yep.
Alrighty. So. Complete silence.
Yeah, so to answer the mercenaries thing, there's nothing to say that they're not part of your army, so that I can find, unless it's in an FAQ.
These models that are in your army are not part of your army. It just seems a bit silly.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that we do have the right ruling on this.
I think so.
So what, you're getting 3d3 plus 1 strength 6 attacks?
Yes.
No, 2d3 strength 6 attacks, d3 plus 1 hits, strength 6 hits because it's impact hits.
Yeah.
You don't even have to roll the hit with those ones.
And they wound on 4s if they are
4+.
hitting something that's tough 7 or more.
Wow, you can kill dragons with this thing.
Yeah.
And you can take 8 of them.
Okay, do we have the runic tattoos up and ready to go?
I'm trying to find them actually on my phone. I don't see them.
Yeah, we can just take turns going through these because there's a lot of them.
Sure. Do you want me to read the start?
Yeah, read the start.
Okay, runic tattoos. There's a bit of fluff here about what they are. Some characters may purchase runic tattoos. These cannot be duplicated on the same model, and no 2 characters in the army can have the same combination of runic tattoos. Doomseekers may purchase up to 3 runic tattoos. Demon Slayers may purchase up to 2 runic tattoos, and Dragon Slayers may purchase a single runic tattoo.
So, what's really cool about this again is that people are already putting tattoos on their models. And now they have an in-game effect. I love that.
I really like the Braveheart one where he's got half the blue face.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Alrighty, so should we take turns going through these in order?
Yeah.
Most points to least points?
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Alrighty. Ben, as the resident dwarf player, this is just your episode.
I'm having a great time today. Rune of the Dishonored, 50 points. Demon Slayers and Dragon Slayers.
Hang on,
only.
I think this requires the fluff to also
you want the
be
fluff?
I think
Yes.
so, yeah.
These all need
In
the
the
fluff.
dwarf
Alright.
voice.
This dreadful mark prolongs the shame of the one who bears it.
Oh dear.
Demon Slayers and Dragon Slayers only, so you can't take this on your Doom Seekers.
Sad.
Once a model with this runic tattoo is reduced to their last wound, they gain a free-up ward save against any further wounds suffered. However, at the end of the battle, a model with this runic tattoo that has been slain is worth no victory points. If it is still alive, the enemy player wins a bonus number of victory points equal to 100 points of its cost.
Oh,
So-
I love this.
You make your Demon Slayer really hard to kill with the only 3-up ward save I've seen in the game,
Yeah.
but you get your points if he lives.
Yeah.
You can make this like a 400-point model if you really want.
So what you do is you run him into dangerous terrain and he dies.
just run in circles.
A worthy death. I tripped on a rock. I stepped on a rusty nail and died instantly. I shall be exalted among my ancestors.
Wait, you know what? You know how the Doom Seekers, they have the whole points, all that kind of stuff again. What if you took Battle Magic with the Pillar of Flame one and just had
You ran your own guy into
kill
it.
your own guys?
Yeah.
Wait, shit, my Doomseeker's alive. Throw him into the fire.
That is going to be a thing, isn't it? Like at the end of the game, you're going to be trying to run your Doomseeker into your own magical vortexes. Oh, I love this so
101
much.
ways to kill your Doom Seeker.
All right. While I read the next one, we'll go that way.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. The Rune of Endless Battle is 40 points. Those who bear this tattoo struggle to contain their rage once battle begins. Apparently, that's what dwarfs sound like in my head.
Scottish, yeah.
Vaguely Scottish. I hope no Scottish players actually listen to our podcast. And if they do,
hope
I
no
hope
one
they aren't
listens.
offensive. Thanks, man. Thanks. During the combat phase of any turn in which a model with this runic tattoo charged, every attack it makes that causes an unsaved wound allows it to immediately make one additional attack. Note that any additional attacks that cause unsaved wounds and any unsaved wound caused by the impact hits X special rule do not benefit from this special rule.
Boo.
Big
Yeah.
boo. Mm.
You've stopped my infinite attack loop.
Yeah.
The impact hits is the biggest thing there, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, getting 1 or 2 extra attacks is not going to be worth 40 points.
Yeah. I don't. Well,
I've seen this on the Bone Giant in the Tomb Kings. Mathematically, it equates to 1 extra wound.
yeah.
It is, and that's on a very strong, high AP, high strength unit against a very low toughness unit.
Yeah, I
it's
don't-
not going to be worth it for
I don't
40
love
points.
it. I don't love it.
But it's still got the winning on a 4-up rule that Slayers have,
Yes.
which is nice.
That was when it was winning on 2s, just by the way, and
Oh,
there was no
right,
saves.
okay.
It was really, really bad.
Yeah.
It still has to hit.
The math's not great. Having said that, the Tomb King thing is only weapon skill 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like it as much as the previous one. Yeah. Anyway, Mark,
Alright,
do you want to bring us the next one?
The Rune of the Reckless for 35 points. Slayers that bear the tattoo fight with a burning and uncontrollable fury.
All right.
Was that offensive?
No.
Good. Well, no, bad.
Not to
I'm not
us.
sure. A model with this runic tattoo gains the Frenzy special rule and during the combat phase has +1 modifier to the rolls to hit. However, enemy models that target this model during the combat phase also have +1 modifier rolls to hit. This reminds me an awful lot of there's a Space Wolf, Mark of the Wolf and thing from like 3rd edition or something like that. Easier to hit and easier to hit, on both
beat
sides.
it, yeah.
They're more bestial, which was really
like
cool.
it.
An extra attack, which is actually what that old Space Wolf thing did as well. It's nice, very thematic, but you're given Slayer guy like the Frenzy special rule, which I'm not sure is.
I think this is great.
I'm going to put this on every single Doomseeker if I can.
I mean, this
Like,
is so
if
good.
I was running dwarves.
Oh no, you've got +1 to hit me. Oh no, don't kill me.
Don't kill me. Oh no. Weapon skill 5 means you're probably going to be hitting on 3s or 4s. So you're going to hit 2s or 3s now.
Yeah.
and you're hitting at strength 6 in the royal clans.
Yeah.
Isn't that going to make him much easier to bait, though?
Sure, but like, so what?
So what?
If he gets
Yeah.
bait, like if he gets baited, he's either going to get into combat or he's going to do nothing and get into combat next turn. Like, it's not a huge deal.
I suppose, because he can, like, he's probably going to win the combat, then he's probably going to overrun, so he's going to get some extra movement out of it. Maybe it's not as bad.
A failed charge, you move the full distance.
Yeah.
So it's like a better move.
Yeah,
Kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah, actually, now that you mention
if
it,
they
it's good.
flee,
Yeah.
and he has that 12-inch charge range.
I'm not thinking of this with the dwarves in mind. I'm just thinking of it with, oh no, frenzy, I have to charge things.
Wait, you still move the full distance even if they don't flee, I think. It's different from previous editions.
I'll double check that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty, next one. It's nice and simple for me. Rune of the Hateful. This unpleasant rune tattoo... sorry, Jesus, I've read the wrong fucking word. I've done it again. Alright. This unpleasant tattoo fills its bearer with hate and bitterness. Alright, model with this rune tattoo gains the Hatred All Enemies special roll.
I like
That's
it.
all we can see. I think there might be a little bit more text, but that's all we can see. Hatred is just very good. Combine that with Rune of the Reckless, and now you're never missing.
It's true.
And you're only going to get one round of combat anyway.
I don't know, man. Like, if you can put 3 runic tattoos on a Doomseeker, right, and give him 75 point multiple wounds D6 magic master rune, this guy's just gonna point him at a monster and watch him blend.
Yeah. At that point, I'd just shoot the Doomseeker, I think, if I was even a player.
Yeah,
Thank you for the
exactly.
300 points.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I love it. Okay.
Next up is the Rune of Grit for 25 points. The flesh of those marked with this rune takes on the texture of stone.
I thought that all dwarves had stone skin.
That's me too.
I like it. You're more of a kind of a hill dwarf there.
I'm not risking a Scottish. I've seen Braveheart. A model with this runic tattoo has a +1 modifier to its toughness characteristic.
Sorry, you brought up Braveheart a couple of times now. And I've just realized with the Doomseekers, they may take our lives, but they'll never take our victory points.
I like it.
Nice.
So +1 toughness for 25 points.
That's never going on the Doomseeker.
If you want it to be less, if you want it to make sure it doesn't die to shooting, it might be like a nice thing to have.
Right, because on tough 5, then all the strength 3 shooting is only winning on 6s,
Yep,
which is
Most
literally
shooting,
half
yeah.
the amount of wounds.
and then -1 to hit.
The minus
You're a
1 to hit
skirmisher.
because it's a skirmisher. Yeah, that's not bad. It's only 25 points. Okay, Rune of the Dauntless for 15 points. Those marked with this rune seek the deadliest foes to challenge in single combat. A model with this runic tattoo must always issue and accept challenges if possible. During a challenge, this model may re-roll any failed rolls to hit.
I like that.
I like that a lot.
Very thematic and actually good.
Forcing your opponent to get into combats. I was probably if you ever charge a Doomseeker into a unit which contains a bunkered wizard or something like that, or some really big combat character, you want the Doomseeker to be hitting that guy to get the most points that he can, considering that he has that multiple wounds and all these attacks, and you want him to die anyway. Getting into a challenge is probably the best thing you can do with him, and getting to reroll all the wounds for 15 points cheaper than all hits for 15 points cheaper than Rune of the Hateful. That's a pretty good investment if you want a second Doomseeker who is going to run in and smack things really hard.
I like it on the Doomseekers. I also like it on the heroes, the Slayer heroes that are bunkered up in a unit of Slayers.
Considering Slayers can already all accept and issue challenges, it's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. And you can, you put this on your Demon Slayer or your Giant Slayer, and you can kill a unit.
Dragon Slayer.
Dragon Slayer, sorry.
Yep.
And you can kill an enemy hero that is basically 2 to 3 times your points worth because you're winning on 4-ups, you're rerolling to hit, and you get the death blow even if you die. So you've got a good chance here to kill like a Chaos Lord or something like that.
Yeah.
Are there any other models in the game, units, aside from, like, I know there's an awful lot of units and models and all that, that can issue and accept challenge for every model in the unit. Are there any other ones that are forced to issue and accept challenges like this? Like, are there any Chaos ones, Pride of the Gods or whatever, or they're
There's
forced
a
to challenge?
couple.
There's a few. I can't remember any off the top of my head, but there are a few.
I think there's a Bretonian virtue that makes you do that.
I think there's a vampire counts thing as well.
Blood Knights definitely do a thing
Yep.
where each of them can issue challenges. I'm not sure if they have to, but that could be.
Yeah.
I think they have to, yeah.
There's a few things that do have to.
Interesting.
Okay.
Anyway, next rune, Mark.
Rune of Wrath. Those that bear this rune upon their flesh are filled with wrath.
Wow, creative.
Ah.
Rune of Wrath.
15 points. It's just +1 attack.
So
+1 attack. I suppose +1 attack with Frenzy. Yeah.
So yeah,
From the
so
Reckless.
that's the thing. You can't take the same combination of runic tattoos, just like with runic weapons.
So these low point ones, because there's no points cap on the runic tattoos themselves.
Right.
You take the 2 ones you want, and then each of the 4 guys you take the 15 point or less runes in order to get higher.
Oh jeez.
Here's but the
Maybe.
thing is with this is it's 15 points. The Rune of Fury is 25 points, which is a dwarf rune that gives you +1 attack.
Yeah.
Everyone takes that on everything.
Yeah.
So you can get 3 runes of Fury and this rune for +4 attacks.
How many points is the Runes of Fury?
25 points.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So that's a really great loadout for.
So hang on.
So apparently, all of these royal doom seekers.
They've been alive for so long, they've gotten so many runes.
Yeah.
So you get +4 attacks from that, and then you can give them Frenzy as well to give them +5 attacks.
Yeah.
Because you can take 3 of these tattoos on the Doomseeker. So now you're getting 2d3 +5 plus d3 +1 impact hits. It's a blender. Like, that is ridiculous.
Oh,
At strength
yeah.
6.
And on the
Charge.
Demon Slayer, they get base 4 attacks or base 5 attacks. Let me double check.
Oh my goodness, hang on. So
Yeah, base 4 attacks.
2d3 +5 is an average of, 9 attacks?
Yep.
And then an additional d3 +1 is another 3. So you're getting 12 attacks out of this one guy.
You're getting 3 hits and
Sorry,
9 attacks.
4 hits. 3 hits, yeah.
Yeah.
3 hits and 9 attacks out of the one guy.
That all wound on 4+.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see why Ben
Or
was
better,
so
'cause they're
excited
strength 6.
to talk about Dwarf Slayers
Right.
and runes.
Strength 5 or 6. Yeah, I mean the rune combinations alone in the dwarf rulebook are huge, and now we're just talking about a small subsection.
We're talking about one model right now.
Yeah. All right, next rune.
It's me.
Yeah.
The Warrior's Rune. Only the most skillful of warriors are permitted to bear this mark upon their flesh. Model with this runic tattoo has +1 modifier to its weapon skill characteristic.
All right, so now your
Weapon skill 6.
Doomseeker can go to weapon skill 6, and your Slayers of Legend go, well, your Demon Slayer can go to 8, and your Dragon Slayer can go to 7.
Seems unnecessary, but you know what? If you have the same combination of tattoos, then this is 10 points. And
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a cheaper version of a rune that you can already get as well.
That's
So
what a
you
lot
could
of the
get-
Slayer runes are.
Yeah, you could get +2 weapon skill on your Demon or Dragon Slayer if you wanted.
So I think you generally, I don't think weapon skill 9 is maybe worth going for. So odd number weapon skills are where it's at from the math standpoint, because
You're not double someone.
you're now more than double, which is where you have to be.
Yeah.
So weapon skill 7 means you're hitting on 2s against weapon skill 3. Weapon skill 9 means you're hitting on 2s against weapon skill 4. Sadly for Demon Slayers, demons have a much higher weapon skill than 4. Or at least any of the big ones do.
But you're getting multiple wounds D6 on them if they're demons, right? Because of their special rule.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, behemoths, they get multiple wounds D6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Demon Slayers. So
Yeah.
if you get it, basically, if you get into combat with a behemoth,
D3.
It's either behemoths, or if you're a Demon Slayer, it's also anything with Warp Spawn.
Warp Spawn,
Yes,
yeah.
and it's D3. But yeah.
So that includes the Demon Prince, who is not a behemoth, so he gets these wonderful skirmish rules.
Yeah. Yeah, so I absolutely could see, if you wanted to push a Dragon Slayer up to weapon skill 7, that makes sense. And defensively, weapon skill 7 is where it's at, so that you're being hit on 4s by virtually everything, right? Very few things are higher than weapon skill 7. So yeah, I mean, I know we're talking about it. It's a minor buff, but I think I actually think weapon skill buffs do make a bit of a difference. All right, the very last rune.
Back to Ben again.
Back to Ben.
Rune of Blazing Fury. The Rage of... Oh, that's no voice.
Oh, sorry, we forgot to say Warriors runes 10 points.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Rune of Blazing Fury. The rage of the ancestors burns brightly within this fiery rune. I can't do Scottish accents.
That's fine.
It's fine.
A model with this runic tattoo has the flaming attack special rule. Oh, the good old flaming attacks.
For 5
rune.
points?
Yep.
It's classic. It's been in every dwarf book ever since Flaming Attacks was a special rule.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. If you want magical, if you want a magical weapon, it's a good way to get it, right?
Yeah, but this is not a magical weapon, right? This is...
If you
this
put
is
a
tattoo.
single rune on it, it gives it magical attacks.
This is a runic tattoo.
Oh, yeah,
Doesn't
you're right.
Make anything
Oh, yeah.
magical.
Well, this is not that good.
Well...
It's another, I have these 2 runes on another guy, and I want a 5-point thing to...
It's for killing trolls, right?
Sure.
Trolls are the only... Trolls and some Tomb Kings.
Trolls and the actual kings of Tomb Kings.
And forest spirits.
Yep.
Right, those are the things that have both regeneration and flammable.
The most relevant thing here, I think, is the Tomb Kings, because throwing a Doomseeker into a Necrolith Bone Dragon could actually do some significant damage to it.
Yeah.
Throw your Doomseeker into anything. Man, I want to play dwarves now because these Doomseekers.
Well, you don't even have to play dwarves to...
You're right, I
bring
could
in
play
the
Empire instead.
mercenaries, Yeah.
I mimight actually end up picking up Empire at some point. I have to get my Tomb Kings to stop thinking about these things.
I've got Empire army you can use, because I also have the dwarfs. Which
Do you have 8 Doomseekers?
I got 3 or 6 of them. I think I bought 6 of them. They were like 10
That's
bucks.
enough.
10 bucks at 3, which isn't bad.
That's
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Wow. So I think those runic tattoos are really sweet.
I love that. That is like so much customization in just a Doomseeker. And you can take so many of them, and they're so strong even without them.
They make dwarves actually look fun to me, like a lot of fun.
Same.
I'm cheating a little bit here. I haven't been talking for like the past couple of minutes because I've been looking at how Ungrim Iron Fist works, and I was like, that
Spoilers.
actually is a full Slayer thing. I was like, I really want to collect Slayers and Doomseekers and Ungrim himself, or maybe convert them or something. Oh, so cool.
So loads of tech with the Doomseekers. A few more options for your Slayer heroes now, and there's also the sort of elephant in the room of that list, which is going to be the points denial list. How much points denial do you want to take? Do you want to go fully into it? Do you want to just sprinkle in a little bit as part of all your other lists? What's the sort of plan there? And I think it's going to be so fun to experiment with that and try it out.
Right. And this is exactly what you want from an Arcane Journal,
Yeah.
right? Just to kind of recap about the failed charge thing, you're right. It does move the distance rolled. You don't
add your movement.
You don't add your movement. But if you charge towards something and it flees, you do add your movement.
Okay.
That's the difference.
So for Doomseekers, that's not that bad because they've only got movement of 3.
Yeah. Or 4 if they're near a cart.
Ooh.
Yeah. So they're moving D6 plus D3.
I really want to see a
Even on a
list
fail,
that takes a Bugman's cart with 8 Doomseekers around it.
Slayer pony.
You could put them all in a unit as well, because they're all learner, and you can just... one unit of 8 Doomseekers. They all have unique personalities and runes.
Right. So you can take 0 to 3 Doomseekers as mercenaries in a regular dwarf list or in an empire list.
You can take 0 to 4 in a Royal Clans list per 1,000, and 0 to 2 per 1,000 in an expeditionary force.
I think that's for the Ungrim list, really, kind of.
So
aside.
Ungrim could be put in one of these, slotted into one of these armies, I'm assuming.
Well, we'll get to Ungrim in a minute. We still have the last of the mercenary units to do.
Yes, the Goblin Hewer.
The Goblin Hewer. I love this thing.
It's an automatic axe thrower.
It is an automatic axe thrower. It's been around for a long time. It's on a very small base. Actually, it's a 50 mil base. So it's 120 points. It's tough 6 with 3 wounds. It's a war machine. It's move 3 and leadership 10 because it's crewed by slayers.
It's also unbreakable because it's crewed by slayers.
Unbreakable and immune to psychology. And it's a skirmisher. Hatred, Orcs and Goblins, Magic Resistance 1. Interestingly, it doesn't have Resolute.
It's not going to be...
I wonder if that was a misprint. One assumes. But it can purchase engineering runes up to a total of 50 points.
What does Resolute do again? Sorry.
-1 on your charge or your flee range.
It is the short rule.
Yes, being short.
Yeah. So the clearly they flip the goblin here upside down, and it runs along like a
Yeah.
treadmill, and that lets them move a little faster.
All right. So as the ranged weapon on the
Sorry. The reason why is because war machines cannot pursue or flee; they just die if they flee.
Oh,
if
yeah,
they
of course.
flee, they just die. Yes, that's true.
Anyway, continue. The actual shooting part of it.
Yeah, the actual shooting part, range 36, strength 4, AP 1, armor bane 1, cumbersome, move or shoot, and whirling doom. Okay, so cumbersome is an extra penalty to shoot.
You can't. Cumbersome is you cannot stand and shoot.
Can't stand and shoot. Okay, so then ponderous is the extra penalty to shoot. Now we've worked it out. Okay.
And then we'll forget again next time this question
So
comes
you
up.
can only move or shoot. So this is a standstill and shoot unless you're in Royal Clan.
A way to remember: cumbersome is
Expeditionary Force.
cannot fire.
Yeah.
Ponderous is penalty to fire.
Ah, very good. I like it.
Nice.
A mnemonic. All right. So it uses the stone thrower misfire table. And the whirling doom is the one special rule. Okay, so with a single salvo of spinning axes, a goblin hewer can cut through several ranks of troops. When shooting a goblin hewer, roll an artillery dice before making any rolls to hit. The number of shots fired is equal to the roll of the artillery dice plus a D3 modifier. Plus a D3 modifier, and then it goes into bullet points, per rank, including the rear rank even if it's incomplete, if the goblin hewer lies in the unit's front or rear arc, or per file if the goblin hewer lies in the unit's flank arc. So in other words, whatever number of models deep the unit is that you're shooting it at, you're going to roll an artillery dice plus 1d3 per rank. So
It's a lot of shots.
it's a lot of shots. You're only ballistic skill 3.
Yeah, it's not. The maths don't really work out very well.
Right. And so multiple shots, no matter how many shots you're getting. So let's say you were hitting 5 ranks or five files because somebody foolishly turned so that you could do that. 5d3, you're getting...
Or you used your massive 3 inches of movement in order to get into their flank arc because you can reduce this thing's toughness by 1 in the expeditionary force.
Sure. And so you would get 10 shots, 10 hits on average added on from the D3, plus I think it's 6 on average from the artillery dice, maybe 5.
5 on average, yeah.
So 15 shots, but only hitting on 5s, so only 5 of them would hit.
Why would it be hitting on 5s?
Because you multiple shot.
It doesn't have multiple shots.
It
It just makes a number of shots.
Oh, it's like an organ gun.
Yeah.
You don't
Okay,
have to roll
so
multiple
it'd still
shots,
be on
okay.
4s, unless you're at long range. But long range is 18, so...
It's pretty long range.
Yeah, okay.
And you can move it.
So 15, so you get 7 or 8. That's not bad.
Doesn't have load rider, so I'm assuming you can throw an engineer in here depending on your list.
So it's a mercenary.
It's a mercenary, yep.
Right.
So does it benefit from the engineer's ability?
We need to quickly look that up.
Yeah,
Someone
that's a good
talk
question.
while I'm looking it up.
Okay, so it's also got an innovative engineers. Any army made using Dwarven Hold's Grand Army composition list that includes 1 or more Slayers of Legend may include 0 to 1 Goblin Hewer per 1,000 points as a rare choice. So you can put them in your rare, and then it will definitely benefit from the engineer. So he can re-roll your artillery dice. If you roll a misfire on the artillery dice, you don't shoot, and you have to roll on the misfire table.
Yeah, I mean, it's only the stone thrower misfire table, which isn't that bad.
Yeah.
I think you can. It says the artillery master special rule says for a friendly unit of quarrelers, unit of thunderers, or dwarf war machine.
It is a dwarf war machine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, and it can purchase engineering runes up to 50 points. So
It is strength 4, AP 1 with armor bane 1. So
it's like firing a crossbow, right?
yeah. So you essentially get 9 crossbow hits on average against a 5 rank unit.
Yeah.
But how many people are running those units is the thing.
Yeah.
I think
You're
it's-
really,
yeah,
you're
for
rolling
120
artillery dice plus D3 is really what you're getting.
Yeah, 2d3, but yeah.
I don't like this, unfortunately, which sucks because I really wanted to run it.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks cool. I don't like that they retcon the lore about Malachi Malakson, even though it means we get to play with it.
He's
It
not
kinda
been born
sucks.
yet.
Yeah, he's not been born. But
Should have
somehow-
kept it in the future.
Yeah,
Cooler in the future.
you're not going to get that much off on this with this. It's very expensive for 120 points. You're kind of relying on the enemy having a unit with loads of ranks, which ironically you won't see that much unless you're playing against goblins. It's a goblin hewer, or like Empire, or maybe a chosen block. Who else is running big blocks of unit of infantry that often? Not that much.
Tomb Kings.
I am scared of this thing with my chosen block, actually. Like, it hits at strength 4 AP 1, which means I'm going to be getting a 6-up save with my chosen block, with a 6-up ward. Wounded on 4s, so it's going to be killing at least 2 with them every time it shoots.
Yeah, 2 or 3. So
It's doing 3 ranks deep.
it's not bad. It's expensive for what it is at 120 points. I'm curious if there's maybe engineering runes that might make it more worth taking.
Probably not. They didn't add any more engineering runes, so there's like the one that makes it explode. There's ones where you can reroll misfires. There's one that gives it flaming attacks.
If you make it explode and walk it up the field 3 inches every turn, that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, that would be good.
But I think that'd be better in a bolt thrower because they're cheaper.
Yeah, the engineering runes are kind of lackluster, unfortunately. They're
Yeah.
basically about misfires, flaming attacks, or they let you, like you can give the unit that's guarding it bonuses in combat or something like that. They're not great.
Yeah.
I was hoping they'd add more in this book, to be honest, and they didn't.
Yeah. Fair enough.
They did add engineer's weapons runes, though, didn't they?
Oh, we're coming to that. That's my favorite bit.
Yeah.
If you thought the Slayer runes were cool, actually maybe the Slayer runes are more cool. But I think these are cool, so keep listening.
Okay, Mr. Black Powder Gun Line Army.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the Goblin Hewers, in terms of what can take them, it doesn't.
It's just the dwarfs and the dwarf armies of infamy.
Yeah.
You cannot take them in
looks that
Empire.
way. Which makes sense.
The dwarves would never give their war machines to the Empire.
Especially
Not
the
even
Slayers.
the weird axe thrower.
Yep. Plus the Empire have better ones already, so...
How dare you?
oh, come on. Great cannons. Hellblaster volley guns.
I think they're just pretty good cannons, okay? Okay, engineer's weapons runes. You're very excited about these, right, Ben?
Oh, yeah.
Everything I've seen you talking about with the not the Orc Arcane Journal, that was the last one, the Dwarf Arcane Journal, has been
That's going in the book.
fair enough. With these, it's been with these engineers' weapon runes. So, do you want to start us off again talking about all these? Want to go through them one at a time? What are we going to do?
Yeah, let's do one at a time. Shall we go from the cheap ones to the more expensive ones now?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that seems like more of a crescendo.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
I like it.
But basically, there's a weapon rune, so they follow the same rules for your points allowance. So, for example, engineers can have 50 points, Thanes can have 75 points, Kings can have 100 points on a standard army. So,
But they go on
they go on crossbows or
handguns
handguns. Yeah, so you can't put them on pistols, which
Okay.
is a shame.
or torpedoes.
I know there was people asking questions about that. The first one I will read is the Enchanted Rune. Simple runic enchantments help otherwise mundane ammunition to punch through magical wards and otherworldly armor. So for 5 points, you can give that weapon magical attacks.
Whee!
Yep.
Seems pretty simple. Rune of Molten Steel for 10 points. The weapon inscribed with this rune gains the Flaming Attacks special rule. Yeah.
Straightforward enough.
Surprise, surprise.
Yep.
The Rune of Rapid Fire for 15 points. Thanks to some clever innovation, and specially crafted rune, this weapon can unleash a salvo of rounds in the same time it takes similar weapon to fire a single shot. They gain multiple shots too and quick shot.
This one is interesting. It's part of the combo that I've been hearing rumblings about. So remember this one. Multiple shots 2 and quick shot.
Okay, so to me, that turns it into a double barrel shotgun.
Yep.
There have been double-barreled rifles made as well. Back in the early days before we had, cartridge ammunition, you had to load each barrel individually.
Yeah.
So you could imagine something like that.
Yeah.
I'd really love to see this as like a pepper box pistol, but sadly we can't have that.
Sure. Pepper box rifle.
The Rune of Accuracy. Favored amongst older engineers, this rune helps the bearer to ignore distractions and focus in on their target. A weapon inscribed with this rune does not suffer any negative to hit modifiers,
Oof. Very good in combination with some of the other runes.
including the one we just went over, because you don't
Yep.
suffer the -1 to hit for multiple shots.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like that.
And no long range penalties either, or move and shoot penalties.
Yeah.
Or cover.
It's
or-
the
yeah,
Ashanti
wow.
rule, right?
What about
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It's Rune of Asaf.
But you can get the positive modifiers to hit, if there are any.
Yeah.
Whereas the Shabti can never hit on anything but a 4.
That sure.
Next up is a rune of concussive force, which is hilarious. Emblazoned upon the ammunition itself, this rune disorientates the enemy with a flash of light and a thunderous burst of sound. A unit hit by an attack with a special weapon inscribed with this rune gains the stupidity special rule until your next start of turn subphase. 30
It's just
points.
hit with an attack.
Flashbang. Oh my goodness.
It's just hit.
Yep.
You don't have to wound. That is very unusual. So almost all of the other, every other one that I know of that's a magic ranged effect is like if you suffer an unsaved wound,
Yeah.
then this happens. But this is just you have to hit.
But it's a flash, like Finn, you said it's a flashbang. That's exactly what it is.
It's 30
Even if it's in your
points.
proximity, it still goes off. You get blinded.
Okay, so where I see that being really useful is against those those low leadership monsters.
My poor Chimera.
The Chimera, anything that likes to run down the flank on its own.
My
Now,
dog's
now
Chimera.
you're stupid.
Yeah.
Harpies, even. I mean, use this on a dragon
But
if it does fail.
No, it's really anything that's outside of a big leadership bubble, right? That's the thing. Because like a leadership 9 or leadership 10, most of the time,
They don't
they're
care.
just going to pass that.
Yeah.
Well, they might. I mean, I've failed plenty of times with the Gold One Knights with Leadership 9 at times when you
true.
don't want to. So
That's
sure,
true.
but getting one turn of stupidity versus a whole game of stupidity is a
I
different
mean, if
thing.
it's on a Black Dragon or something like that, losing one turn is
But-
a massive deal.
Yeah, but you're only going to lose it like 1 in 6 times if you're on leadership 9.
It's true. But I mean, yeah.
For 30 points, it's some decent utility.
Yeah, exactly. There's decent utility there. Okay, I get to do the first Master Rune. Okay, the Master Rune of Bursting Flame for 35 points. On contact with the enemy, the shot from weapons inscribed with this powerful rune explodes in a shower of burning fragments. If the roll to hit is successful, again, it's just a roll to hit. Okay. If the roll to hit is successful, a weapon inscribed with this rune causes 2d3 hits to the target enemy unit rather than the usual 1 hit. Okay. So this is the
Sustained
Master
fire
Rune
dice.
of Merv.
It's fragmentation ammunition, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like this is the exact way that sustained fire dice worked in my favorite edition of 40k.
Second edition.
Yes.
Okay.
Only it can't jam now.
So is this part of your combo then?
Yeah, it's not my combo. I won't take credit for it, but it is the combo that I've been hearing about. And you can't take it on engineers. You can only take it on, because of the cost of things, you can only take it on Thanes or Kings,
Okay.
which are BS4 instead of BS5 with an engineer. But you put the Master Rune of Bursting Flame, so every hit is a 2d3 hits. Then you combo that with the Rune of Accuracy, so you don't get any negative to hit modifiers, and the Rune of Rapid Fire, which is multiple shots 2. And quick shot. So you're shooting twice, and each hit that you get, which you should hit both maybe, or probably, is 2d3 hits. So you end up with like up to 6 hits from your multiple shots too.
So why can't you put this on engineer?
Because they have a limit of 50 points of weapon runes.
Right. Put it in Royal Clans. You can't take engineers.
Can't take
Yeah.
engineers in
Yeah.
Royal Clan.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
It's a nice combo.
Yeah, and it's not that expensive. I mean,
Can't
if you want a
you-
little cannon guy.
Can you ally an expeditionary force with a Royal Clans army?
No,
No. Okay.
they can't take allies.
Okay.
They can only be allies.
Unfortunate. So there's no way to get that. But still, hitting on 3s for 2 attacks that do 2d3 hits each.
Yeah. Or you could just not take the Rune of Accuracy, and then you would still have your BS5, and you could put it on an engineer.
Yeah, I think that would be probably what I would do if I just had 50 points. So you'd
Yeah.
have the Master Rune of...
You're still hitting on 3s most of the time because of long
Yeah.
range. But
Yeah.
And it's good against infantry. I mean, you can wipe out like 4 or 5 models a turn.
This is cheaper than the Goblin Hewer and hits about as much.
Yeah.
and frankly, if you think about the engineer as being, standing back with the war machines, this is what you use to take out the chaff instead of having to, load up on grape shot or whatever.
The war machine hunters, the harpies.
Yeah, the great eagles, the
war dogs, the chimeras.
Exactly.
Well, not necessarily chimeras.
No, not necessarily.
No, that's the runic concussant force there.
Yeah, that's right.
And the thing about engineering runes as well, I know we've got a few more to do, but is there are probably points your opponent's not going to get because you're so far back, unless you've probably lost the game.
Right.
And not getting there, which is nice.
So even more points denial on top of your amazing Doomseeker spam.
Beautiful.
That's fun. Alrighty.
The Master Rune of Piercing for 40 points. Projectiles shot by this weapon punch through armor and flesh without slowing, allowing the wielder to cut down swaths of enemies in a single shot. Weapon inscribed with this rune has a +1 modifier to its strength characteristic, and in addition, a weapon inscribed with this rune shoots like a bolt thrower using the through and through special rule, so it's going through several ranks or files. Interesting.
They stole this idea from the Beastman.
I mean, you're only getting a strength 5 shot.
Sure.
Still.
But a strength 5 shot means that you can hit 5 models with it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's fine.
You can't inscribe regular.
It's definitely fluffy.
Yeah. You can't give this plus strength in any way.
Yeah.
You get 2 shots with it. Which would be funny.
For some reason, the second you said Beastmen, I was thinking skirmishers, and I was thinking, how the hell does true and true work with skirmishers?
It doesn't.
It does.
It doesn't.
I thought
You kill one guy in particular.
Yeah.
Anyway, last one. The Master Rune of Slaying. The power held within this Master Rune has sent the likes of giants, trolls, and even dragons running for cover. When making a roll to wound against an enemy whose troop type is Behemoth with a weapon inscribed with this rune, so it doesn't apply to trolls, Games Workshop, fix your game.
Yeah.
On a roll of 3+, it is always a success regardless of the target's toughness. In addition, a weapon inscribed with this rune gains the multiple wounds D3 special roll.
Okay, so Master Rune is 50 points.
So you can only combine it with one of the other runes at best.
Well, unless you give it to a king.
Thane or a king, yeah.
It's kind of a more expensive Trollhammer torpedo.
Yeah.
Is what you're looking at. So it's not great, but as an additional option for dealing damage to big things, it's pretty good,
Yeah, it's not bad.
Is there a character that can take a handgun that can take Master Rune of Slaying and Master Rune of Burning Flame and Rune of Rapid Fire?
You can't put both Master Rune.
Oh, you're right. Damn, that would have been really funny.
But
2d3 multiple wounds, d3 hits would have been hilarious.
yeah.
I see why they don't do that though.
Yep.
So it's fun. It's a way to give your engineers a little more utility than they previously had, because up to now they're just, I sit by the war machine and then sometimes I reform misfire dice.
Yeah.
No, it's like, I can actually kill things.
Yeah.
I'm useful.
You can kill one thing anyway.
Yeah, if I'm a sapper, I can go in a unit of quarrelers and make it dig in, and we can just become a really cool Empire-style firing line.
Yeah.
Assuming you hit your one shot.
I think the Rune of Rapid Fire and the Master Rune of Bursting Flame is what I would put on a regular engineer and give that to him sitting in the back line.
I think I'd put that on the sapper too, honestly. Like, I think that is just more damage than the Rune of Slaying that you're going to get.
Sure.
2 shots at 2d3 hits each is going to be better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strength 4, AP 1, armor bane 1 usually, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Okay.
So that's all the engineering runes.
Yep.
I think the only thing left to go over in this Arcane Journal that we have so far is the special characters.
Oh, I know. Oh boy, are they some good ones.
Nice.
Which one shall we start with?
Thorgrim, because he's not very good.
Spoilers.
It's okay.
Spoilers indeed. Wow.
He's fine.
Right.
He's not Thorgrim from End Times. Let's just say that much.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll read Thorgrim out then, seeing he's not very good. Okay. Thorgrim Ulukson, Carl of the Damaz Kron. Okay. So he's not as he hasn't quite earned all of his titles yet.
For those not familiar with their Khazalid, the Damaz Kron is the Great Book of Grudges.
Yep. So that's why eventually he becomes Thorgrim Grudgebearer. Okay, he's a Thane, and he can be included in any dwarf army that includes a Thane option. which I think as we went through them all today, they all can include Thanes.
Yep, think so.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Profile-wise, he's move 3, weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 4, strength 4, tough 5, 3 wounds, initiative 3. How high for a dwarf? 3 attacks, leadership 10, and he costs 250 points.
Pricey for a Thane.
That's pricey.
That's like king points, yeah?
Yeah. 250. Like, I think, isn't it a naked Thane like 80 points or something?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the points cost becomes apparent when you see his weapon.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it's still a lot to put on a Thane.
Yeah. So obviously he's heavy infantry, and he is armed with special weapons called, we'll get to those in just a sec. His special rules, he's got Grumrill armor, Hatred Orcs and Goblins, Magic Resistance 1, Rally and Cry, Resolute and Stubborn. And then he's got an additional one called Grudge Lore. Pardon me. Apparently that made me sneeze.
Itchy nuisance.
Itchy. Okay, so Grudge Lore. Once Thorgrim has set the Grudge Stone, which we'll get to in a moment, both he and any unit he has joined replaces the Hatred Orcs and Goblins special rule with the Hatred All Enemies special rule. Okay, so then we've got to go straight into the Grudge Stone. So the Grudge Stone is an ornate stone that's been set up on the battlefield all around Thorgrim. Know that there can be no retreat. So during any start of turn subphase, Thorgrim may set the Grudge Stone. So in your turn or your opponent's turn, okay. Once set, Thorgrim and any unit he has joined gains the Unbreakable special rule and automatically passes any panic tests they are required to make. However, once the Grudge Stone has been set, Thorgrim and his unit cannot choose to flee as a charge reaction and cannot move other than to give ground, to make a follow-up move, or to reform.
So we're going to stay right here, and we're never going to move, and we hate everyone.
Yes.
You should charge me.
And then the last thing he has then, he's got the Armor of Skaldor, which is a suit of heavy armor, which gives a 4-up ward save against killing blow or against any wounds suffered that were caused by an attack with the multiple wounds X special rule. So that
That's fine.
is fine. Yeah.
He also has a shield, so he's a 4-up
ward
armor
against
save.
that. Yep. So 4-up armor save total. Yep. And then Grudge Settler is his weapon, which is Strength +2, AP 1, Armor Bane 1, magical attacks. And it is inscribed with the Master Rune of Smiting.
The D6
and,
multiple wounds.
Yep. And the Rune of Parrying.
-1 to hit him in close combat.
Okay. So, yeah, isn't that like 100 points of runes?
I think it's
Yeah.
75 points for the Master Rune of Smiting.
So he's hitting at
Parrying
strength
the-
6
yeah.
with multiple wounds D6. AP 1, not great, but Armor Bane 1 as well.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's not bad.
For 250 points, like,
Yeah. So, I mean, he is a Thane, but he's functionally a king.
he
In
can
a
be,
lot of
he can
ways.
carry your battle standard, can't he?
No, he has to
No.
be fielded as presented here. So you can't like all
Can't
named
customize him
characters,
at
you
all.
can't
Might be
customize him.
Missing out on a weapon skill. Initiative
Yeah,
and
he's
attack.
he's one less. One less attack as well.
He does have. He has the wounds for it though.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's 3 wounds. He's interesting. I think you're right. It's not like oh wow, I really want to field him.
You're right, he is not very good.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's interesting. Like, it's not the style of dwarfs that I would like to play. Like putting your guys down and going, hey, here I am now. You can't get past me.
It's nice for objectives, I guess.
I think there might be exactly some objectives where you might want to be doing that.
Like the upcoming GT, I'd probably consider taking him because there's a lot of objective control type things. Maybe he can do it while he's occupying a building.
Yep.
But in like a kill points game, people are just going to walk away. And then you're going to be stuck there.
Yep.
And they're going to shoot you.
Dwarves' greatest weakness,
Is there
long
any,
legs.
Is there any really good? Is there any particularly tough unit that's good at shooting and close combat? Like I know we have Iron Breakers and Iron Drakes here, so probably one of those. Like, could you make like a massive block of those or something like that?
Rangers are pretty good at shooting and close combat. Their weapon skill, ballistic skill 4.
You can great weapons.
Great weapons, yep. Shields.
Huge block of Rangers would be pretty funny to have Thorgrim in.
But 250 points.
He's like the cost of a unit.
Now, I wonder, again, if we were playing bigger battles, would you consider putting him in?
Probably. And he'd be very good in narrative battles as well.
Yeah, for sure.
All that kind of stuff.
Yep. All right. Shall we move on to the next character then?
Should we do Burlock next? Or
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do Burlock and then we'll finish with the Slayer guy.
Do you want to do Burlock then, Ben?
Sure.
It's your whole thing.
Oh, yeah. The screenshot I took, this is someone's hand in it. Never mind.
But they're pointing right at his enormous mustache.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Look!
It's fantastic.
Burlock Damonson is an engineer. He may be included in any Dwarfen Mountain Holds army made using any army composition that includes the option. He must be fielded as presented here. Movement 3, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 5, strength 4, tough 4, wounds 2, initiative 2, attacks 3, leadership 10, points 85. So he's a little more, his stat line is like an engineer but a little more fighty. So he's got an extra attack, I think. He's got an extra weapon skill. And he's got more leadership. So leadership 10, instantly I'm thinking, okay, he's my general.
Yeah.
I'm making my general.
For only 85 points, for sure.
Yeah, which is only 25 more than a engineer, and you'll see what it gets, which is quite cool. So heavy infantry, named character. He has the dwarf crafted and Gromel armor special rules, which are the good dwarf army rules. Hatred, orcs and goblins, magic resist 1, prepared positions, range finding optics, resolute and standback chief, and stubborn. So prepared positions is his first special rule. During deployment, you may entrench a single non-character model whose troop type is War Machine and a single unit of Quarrelers or Thunderers, so 2. An entrenched unit is considered to be behind partial cover and to be defending a low linear obstacle. Should an entrenched unit move for any reason, it is no longer entrenched.
So he's basically like a sapper, except he can entrench 2 units. Then he doesn't have to be in them.
But he only does it during deployment.
Yeah, so he can't repeatedly entrench and then move, and etc.
Oh no, my Quarrelers and my War Machine can't move.
Well, it's kind of a bigger deal in the Expeditionary Force.
Yeah, you're right.
Because they can move all those things and not care.
Yeah.
Or, well, not Quarrelers, actually. Quarrelers, if you move Quarrelers, they still get in the -2 to hit.
Yeah.
But if you move Thunderers for their +1 point per model, then they get no penalty to hit.
Yeah, so maybe this is the one you put next to the unit of Quarrelers that isn't going to move.
Yeah.
And the War Machine, so like your organ gun or something.
And Quarrelers have longer range as well.
So it's basically a gun line.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Next up is range finding optics. This is covered, but I'll do my best. Unless Burlock is fleeing or engaged in combat once per turn during the shooting phase, a friendly unit of Quarrelers, Thunderers, or a Dwarf War Machine that is within its command range can either reroll any rolls to hit of natural 1 or reroll a single artillery dice. That's the engineer rule.
Yep.
In addition, Burlock and any unit he's joined do not suffer the usual to hit modifier when shooting at long range.
That part's really big.
Nice.
Yep.
Stick him in the Quarrelers, and now they have a 30-inch range with no penalties.
Yep.
So if he's in a unit which also has the engineer who has those master runes that we were just talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Now he's going to be hitting on 2s.
It's true.
And not 3s. That's very cool.
That is nice. Yeah, I think maybe Rangers, a non-vanguarding unit of Rangers, because Quarrelers are only BS3.
Yeah.
But Rangers are BS4, and they're really good. But yeah, there's a pretty cool synergy. And the last one is Standback Chief. A character with a special rule cannot be targeted by enemy shooting or enemy spells within 3 inches of a friendly unit whose troop type is War Machine. This is the engineer rule.
Yep.
I just forgot what it was called.
Yep.
So that's nice to have. So he's basically an engineer with a few fun things and 2 special weapons, which we'll talk about now. The first one, I'm going to talk about the Rivet Gun first because it's his ranged weapon. It's a 10-inch range, strength 3, AP2, armor bane 1. If the roll to hit is successful, this weapon causes D3 hits to the target enemy unit rather than the usual 1 hit.
I don't like that 10-inch range is very underwhelming for a guy who's going to be sitting back with Quarrelers.
Yeah, you're going to stand and shoot with it, and that's it pretty much.
Yep.
If you get charged.
It's not even Dwarf crafted, is it?
No.
No. It is Dwarf crafted because he has the roll.
Oh,
yeah,
sure. Good point. And then his very silly melee weapon that he has.
The best part.
That we'll never get to use. Range combat, strength, dash, AP2, Special rules, flaming attacks. Notes. Before Burlock makes any attack with this weapon, roll an artillery dice to determine its strength characteristic. If a misfire is rolled, he loses a single wound and makes no attacks this turn. So yes, your engineer can attack in melee at strength 10.
Once.
No,
one
three
turn.
attacks.
Yeah, but like, for one turn.
Yep.
He's up to skill 5 as well, so like that would hurt a lot, obviously.
Yeah, three attacks. So, like, even if it's strength 6 or 8 or 10, which you've got a pretty good chance of getting any of those.
Yep.
You have
that's pretty bananas, right?
50-50 shot of either getting 6, 8, or 10, or 2, 4 misfire.
Yeah.
So I actually like this guy in ranges because you're probably going to get charged. You can confer that buff. You
And
get
he's
to stand and shoot.
only a
your rivet
little
gun.
more expensive than engineers.
Yeah, 85 points. This is why I'm thinking he's probably an auto-include for me.
He does feel like a nice, cheap, cheerful, but also very much effective option. I mean, leadership 10 for that points cost is pretty
I don't know
good.
if
And he's probably not going to be killed by shooting at the very least because of stand back chief. I mean, any of the games we've ever played, I don't think I've ever killed any of your engineers.
No. They sort of sit on a hill the entire game.
Yeah, do what they want, do what they need to do.
It's definitely a very you character, Ben.
Oh, yeah. That's why I said he's an auto-include for me in every list. I like him. He's fun. He's got some good shooty abilities. What do you think?
I don't know that he's auto-include, but he is pretty good. I have my own problems with named characters included in every single army list. It kind of breaks my enjoyment of the game a little bit. But I think that if you were going to, I think he's probably a very strong inclusion in a gunline list.
I think the engineering runes, and particularly the ranged weapon runes that are in this arcane journal, mean that you're sort of your typical engineer who just sits back and does nothing now has options. And so I could see playing with Burlock Dennison, but I can also see people starting to go, okay, here's these other cool things that I can now do with my engineer. So, I think he's neat. He's certainly a lot more points efficient than Thorgrim. So,
Yeah, he's cool. All right, we have the last one to
The
do.
most exciting one.
Yes. As soon as I find him, I can...
yep, I think we should let Mark do this because he's pretty stoked about it.
Ungrim Ironfist, Slayer King of Karak Kadrin. He is a king, as you would expect. He may be included in any dwarf mountain holes army made using the... yeah, you can use them on dwarves.
As a king.
As a king.
So he can't be in
Expeditionary Force.
Expeditionary Force. That's the only thing.
Yep. 315 points. This looks very similar to the... what do we have? Where's the Demon Slayer? Stars of Legend, Demon Slayer. Yeah, he actually has higher weapon skill, higher ballistic skill.
We'll go over the numbers.
Yeah, let's do the numbers.
Yeah, let's do the numbers first. Movement 3, weapon skill 9, ballistic skill 4.
9 is ridiculous.
It
It's
is.
actually, that's like, greater demon level weapon skill.
That means
Greater
anything
dwarf.
of weapons go 4 or lower, he's hitting on 2s.
Yeah.
Strength 4, toughness 6, 3 wounds, 5 initiative, 4 attacks, leadership 10, as you'd expect.
So tough 6.
Yep, he's like a dragon toughness.
Yeah.
Initiative 5, so he's the fastest dwarf in the West.
Yeah.
This is an amazing stat line.
He is actually pretty amazing.
We'll just ignore the movement for now.
Hey,
It's dwarves.
if he's got Bugmans, he's move 4.
yes. And you can go in marching column, with anyone else.
True.
For
So
his-
marching 12.
For his equipment, he does have a hand weapon, the Axe Dargo, a Slayer Crown, and light armor, so he at least gets a 6-up armor save. Special rules are...
As a slayer, that's incredible.
Yeah. Is that meant to represent the crown then, I wonder? Or
No,
is that
the
actually on
crown's got
model?
its own thing. He does wear armor. He's the only slayer who's allowed to wear armor. As a little fluff thing, I believe that the Slayer King is he has to run the entirety of Karak Kadrin, and that is his greatest shame, that he has to stay alive in order to run this. And he keeps trying to get killed in battle, but he's too good at it.
He's like, just too tough.
And he stays alive until the end of the end times.
Does he get killed with the whole cataclysm thing and all that?
I think he
as
gets
opposed to
killed
actually
some point in the
getting
end
killed by
times. I haven't read them in a while. But yeah.
So he does actually have a hand weapon, not that you'll ever use it. Special rules are Death Blow, which I believe is a...
When you die, you
regular
get
Slayer
another
weapon.
hit.
Yeah. Gromwell armor, hatred, orcs and goblins as usual, immune to psychology. King of the Slayer hold, which is one of his unique rules. Magic resistance 2, rallying cry, which is not a unique rule, but I'm not sure what it is.
It allows you to automatically rally a fleeing unit.
No,
okay.
no,
So what
it
have?
lets you
Roll the rally.
in the command phase. You get to roll before the rally part,
Right.
so you basically get an extra rally attempt.
I was using it with the Empire rule.
Yep.
Nice.
Oh, yep.
Resolute, Slayer, and Unbreakable.
Only the forces of order have access to the rallying cry special rule, I'm pretty sure.
Right. In the same way that only the forces of the Ravening Hordes have access to Warband and Horde. I think some have Horde, but Warband is predominantly a Ravening Hordes rule, right?
We also get more armies, more monsters in our armies, so
Yeah.
it's fair.
Yeah. Anyway, let's keep going with this guy.
King of the Slayer hold. Torn between his oaths as a Slayer and his oaths as a King, Ungrim Iron Fist leads armies of Slayers to battle alongside his own Royal Guard. Ungrim may join a unit of Hammerers or a unit of Slayers, even though he does not have the Loner special rule. A unit of Hammerers joined by Ungrim gains the Immune Psychology and Unbreakable special rules for as long as he remains with the unit. In addition, if Ungrim Iron Fist is taken as the general of a Royal Clan army, Demon Slayers and Dragon Slayers may be taken as characters. 1 unit of Slayers per 1,000 points may be taken as a core choice, and up to 4 Doomseekers per 1,000 points may be taken as a special choice.
Jeez.
There's your
So,
entire army of
there's your Slayer
Doomseekers.
army.
You may
right
now
there.
include 16 Doomslayers in the army.
That's a lot of Doom.
Yeah, Doomseekers. So, real quick, I just noticed he does not have Unbreakable himself. He only gains Unbreakable when the unit of Hammers he joins.
Oh, he does have it. He
Oh
does.
yeah, he does. It's the last rule.
Oh, at the fair. Oh my goodness, I don't remember the alphabet. Okay, so he does have Unbreakable. That's good. I thought it was a misprint. That's fine. Continue on with the rules.
So they also have, or he also has Slayer. To persist for long as a Slayer, warrior must be exceptionally skilled and ferocious. He probably is going to be exceptionally killed anyway. So I suppose it's not really much of a misspeaking on my part. When this model makes a roll to wound, a roll of 4+ is always success, regardless of the target's toughness. As we're going to see later, that's probably not going to come into play too much because his axism makes him go up to strength 6.
I mean, wounding on 4s is always nice.
Yeah.
Like if you are fighting, for example, a dwarf king with toughness 10, being able to wound him on 4s instead of 6s is quite nice.
There was something I saw in, I'm not sure which edition of Warhammer, but it was something like if you're guaranteed to hit on a rune roll of a 4+, but you would normally hit better anyway, it's something like you get a free reroll or something like that. That's not
a thing anymore.
Yeah, I figured it wouldn't be. I thought maybe just in the off chance I hadn't seen something in the rulebook, but yeah, there you go.
His magic items.
Yes, the Slayer Crown. This majestic helmet has been worn by every Slayer king since the time of King Baragor.
Yep, Baragor.
The wearer of the Slayer Crown improves their armor value by 2. Okay, right, so he's 4+ armor. In addition, this wearer has a 5+ ward save against any wound suffered, so he's a 4+, 5+, which is pretty good.
So toughness 6, 4+, 5+. That is literally dragon toughness.
That's pretty good. That's pretty damn good.
This is the dwarf dragon. It's just a guy with a big hair.
The Dwarf Dragon is a Slayer. This is just Slayer Dragon.
Yep. Flip the 2 words.
The Axe-Dargo is his last special or magic item, I should say. The Axe-Dargo is a runic weapon of monstrous size and it was made of shards of King Baragor's broken axe tempered with the dragon's blood and iron oaths of vengeance. The Axe-Dargo is a combat weapon, strength +2 is the strength that you're hitting with, AP -3, it's magical attacks and Monster Slayer.
So strength 6 with Monster Slayer, always wounding on 4s or better. Weapon skill 9. This guy is a absolute beast in combat.
Yep.
He doesn't have multiple wounds, so he can't really fight anything that isn't a monster that has multiple wounds. So like he's not going to be great against trolls, funnily enough. But he hits really hard against dragons, and he can bring so many Slayers in the Royal Army.
Yep.
Like this model is my favorite special character they've released so far of all the ones I've read.
I really like how I don't know, it's just the fact that he has so many Slayer specific rules. Like, you know, if you're a Slayer fan,
he's the Slayer King.
Yeah. If
He
you're
does.
a fan of Slayers, this is your guy.
He does feel like a Slayer and a king.
Love him. Yeah. Pretty sweet model.
Finally, a Slayer with Monster Slayer as a special
The
rule.
only one.
And it has to be the king.
And it's only on the axe. So
Yeah.
if the axe gets broken, he doesn't get it anymore.
So annoying.
I really love the ability to take 8 Doomseekers in a special. So
Yeah, that's going to be annoying, especially because
In
sure you
addition
can
to
shoot
the
them
8.
off. You can shoot them off, right? But there's
then
8 of them,
yeah.
and then you're -1 to hit.
So
possibly-
special is 50% of your army.
Yep.
Ungroom is 315 points. Plus you get 2 units of Slayers as core. And you can take 4 Doomseekers as 25. So 8 Doomseekers is 25% of your army in mercenaries. 8 more is 50% in special. And then just Slayers as your core. And then Ungroom and Demon Dragon Slayers.
you don't even need to take that many Doomseekers.
No,
you
but
don't
it
need
is
to, you
funny.
don't need to do the mercenaries. You could just take them in special, fill out your core, and then your characters could all be Slayers, and that's 2,000 points.
How would people treat this then with the rule of 3? Would it apply to this?
I mean,
I think
you
for
would have
Doomseekers you have to have an exception. Like they're clearly designed to take more than 3 of them.
Yeah.
0 to 4 per thing. I mean,
It explicitly says more than 4.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're so first off, I don't like the rule of 3, and that's why it's not in the GT. But I do understand that it's to stop people from taking, lists that are entirely unfun to play against, right? So, if you're playing with the rule of 3, then you're only taking 3 Doomseekers, and that's that. I mean, that's the
Rather
same
than
as-
16.
Rather than 16, well, yeah, exactly.
I think the reason you would implement the rule of 3 is because having 16 Doomseekers means at minimum you're keeping 800 points if your opponent kills all of them.
Yeah. At the end of the day, all of these rules, sorry to kind of just take a bit of an aside here, all of the rules that you put in any kind of tournament are designed to prevent negative play experiences, right? Where, especially if you're traveling somewhere and you're staying overnight to play 2 days worth of Warhammer, you don't really want to have anybody going, well, I just spent 3 hours of my life and I wish I had them back because that was an awful experience. What I want is for people to be smiling as much when they lose as when they win. And if somebody's fielding an army where it's like, we played a different game, not actual Warhammer, because of the army that they fielded, that's something I want to try and prevent. And so,
Doomseekers, I don't think would cause that.
I don't think so.
necessarily.
I don't think so. And that's why I'm like, yeah, take 8 Doomseekers. That seems amazing. Let play that out. But, at the same time, there's going to be scenarios, and being able to win those scenarios with Doomseekers is probably not going to be likely. Hold this position until the end of the.
In kill points battles, though, it's really fun.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
I am actually kind of wondering why they didn't bring back Long Drawn's Slayer Pirates along with this, though, because it seems like it'd be the perfect opportunity to do that. But
I believe the
there you
Slayer
go.
Pirates started later in the timeline.
Oh no! Even
Yeah.
bring back the models anyway, because I really like them.
They might.
Well,
Who knows?
we won't know how long they'll advance the timeline for as the game goes on.
They could just rename it to something else,
Warhammer, the not
John-
parts of Old World.
yeah. Maybe they're not Slayer Pirates. Maybe they're Engineering Slayer. So yeah, Engineering Slayers who just so happen to have do-rag thingies on their heads, and guns.
So, how are we feeling about the Arcane Journal? I've read it back to front several times, but I'm definitely interested in the 3 of you.
Love
It's the first time for you seeing a lot of the stuff.
Love it.
I like it. This is my favorite Arcane Journal they've released. This feels way more impactful to the army than the Tomb Kings one or the Bretonnian one did. I haven't fully read through the Orcs one, but I feel like you can pretty much just play Orcs as they always have been without the Arcane Journal.
They kind of already had everything. The
Yeah.
Arcane Journal was just icing on top, whereas for dwarfs, they didn't have that much.
Dwarves kind of had one playstyle of just like gun line, sit back and get shot.
Yeah.
Now they have a lot of things they can do, and you can run a full Slayer army, and now also Empire have a little treat in the Doomseekers.
Yeah.
Everyone wins.
I think it really introduces 2 very different play styles for the dwarfs. and I like it a lot. And I like that they really restrict a lot of units in the Armies of Infamy, like heavily restrict them, to really kind of force you into this is the play style that's meant to be for this list. So
I think other Arcane Journals have done a similar thing, or at least attempted to.
yeah,
I think this one does it the best.
Yeah.
Of at least in terms of like flavor.
Yeah. It's like you were saying beforehand with the miners rule, that should be in the main rule, the main book. But I mean, the fact that it's here, I mean, the fact that it still, like, exists now that we have the Arcane Journal.
There's a fast dwarf army that exists now.
Yeah.
And it's all fueled by alcohol.
Yeah. Beyond, I mean, there's the ponies, there's the miners, the whole Slayer thing. The fact that as you were saying, a fast dwarf army list with the expedition, the scout versions of everything. Just great.
I'm looking forward to fighting dwarves for the first time ever.
Yeah, just so much in this Arcane Journal, compared to the ones we've seen beforehand. Like, I wasn't really wowed by, I was more wowed by the Bretonnian one than I was by the Tomb King one, and then the Orcs and Goblins one was a bit better than those as well. But this is like a huge step up again, I think.
I was not wowed at all by the Bretonnian one. I really liked the Tomb Kings one, just because it has the Motre cult list with a lot of shenanigans you can do with magic there. But honestly, if this is a pattern if these trends continue,
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I was just kind of curious because we were talking about Ungrim Iron Fist, and he ends up in the end times becoming the
elemental of fire, yeah.
Of fire, yeah. And then he kind of goes out in a big blaze of glory when Averheim falls down.
Grimney?
No, he literally Akshi, I think, is the fire.
Yep.
He's basically
he gets really big fire hair.
He fights Archaon, and they have to kind of back off. Balthazar Gelt gets involved. It's actually a pretty cool part of the story, so worth checking out.
Balthazar Gelt, that cheeky guy.
Oh,
and
that
his cheeky necromancy shenanigans.
Tush.
Yeah.
He's cool though.
Oh yeah, I've got his model.
Oh, well, that's my alarm to tell me it's time for bed. I think it's probably a good time to wrap up the podcast. What do you think?
Yeah. Just make sure to come to the Rank and Flank GT. It is August.
If you're in Ireland.
Yeah. August 2nd and 3rd.
3rd and 4th.
3rd and 4th. I'm
that weekend.
sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Also, this week I released a Discord bot called The Owl, the Old World Lawyer. I'm in conjunction with Flammable Hero he wrote he maintains the WHFB.app website with all the rules for Warhammer. So he provided me with some data for it, and now if you have the owl in your Discord server, you can just say, hey, $owl and the name of a rule or a unit or a magic item, and poof, it pops you up a link to that particular item. So if you're on our Discord, you can use it, rankandflank.com/Discord.
Yep.
Come in, tell us how we're wrong about everything.
Yeah. Oh, and hey, on our blog this week, we had our first guest author who wrote kind of like if you're coming from an old edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battle to the old world, how does the movement change?
Yeah.
It was a pretty cool article.
Really good read.
Yeah.
I like that because I don't like reading through the entire book. So he's basically told me everything I need to know.
Yep.
I was like, oh, this is a godsend.
And seeing we just spent a lot of time talking about dwarfs, we have another guest writer who's a player coming from Limerick who is writing an article about gyrocopters. And we paused on releasing that article so that he could add his thoughts on the scouts once the rules dropped. So expect to see a cool article about gyrocopters. And if you're keen to write an article, we'd love to have you write for the blog. So just drop by on the Discord and hit me up. I'm AJ on there. So
if a special shout out to anyone who wants to write like a character build article, because I really like that format. I want to see how people are building like their dwarf kings, especially after the Arcane Journal, or how are you building,
or their engineers.
Yeah. So those are good ones. If anyone needs some inspiration, what's your Chaos Lord build?
Yeah. What's the most ridiculous number of Doomseekers you can fit into a list?
Yeah, exactly.
And what do each of them do?
Come on, let's break the meta together, guys.
Anyway, with that, I think we can about wrap things up.
Yeah, sounds good.
Alrighty. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right, bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.